Yo, sup everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast, back after a 2-week hiatus. Thank you for being patient, joining us here again in studio. This episode is brought to you by Continental Belts and Hoses. You know, when you're under the hood doing your maintenance of your car, you don't always think about your belts and your hoses, but because you're thinking about oil, you're thinking about tires, you're thinking about the in-your-face consumables, but belts and hoses can dry, they can crack over time, and if they do, you can end up with coolant leaks, oil leaks, fuel leaks, or worse, the car could throw a belt, and if it's an interference motor, you got a big problem. Continental belts are OE in tens of millions of Chrysler, Dodge, Ford, and GM vehicles that roll off the assembly line. They're also OE, that's original equipment, on the majority of BMWs and Volkswagens. Now, Continental is launching the aftermarket multi-V belt with the OE pedigree. It's their OE Technology Series belts that are fanatically engineered for perfect fit, form, and function. And Continental has an OE Technology Series multi-V belt for 98% of the vehicles on the road in the US and Canada. Hey, you get enough surprises working on cars and trucks. A belt should not be one of them. Go with the Continental OE Technology Series multi-V belt, the belt with the OE pedigree. Get the full story at oetechnologyseries.com. We are also brought to you by Migliori Luxury Car Care Products. Migliori is known for making the best of the best when it comes to car care. Their product line is handmade and poured right here in the USA in my home state of Connecticut. Migliori's Strata coating is a ceramic coating treatment you can easily apply yourself. It adds a ton of gloss, lasts over a year, and keeps your car looking great for longer in between washes. It's extremely hydrophobic, meaning water just sheets right off, making maintenance so much easier. Strata coating has over 100 positive reviews on Amazon. If you need vetting, with spring right around the corner, you can use code TST at checkout at miglioriwax.com. That's MIGLIORE wax.com for 10% off your order. miglioriwax.com. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, the Brio Beardscape. Mine is back in the game. I brought it to the East Coast with me so I could look good on my wedding day, and whether you're at home or on the road, the Beardscape has you covered. You know, just about every guy has had a bad experience with a bad trimmer. You know, the kind you buy at the drugstore, they're like, you know, it's either the blades go bad or the motor dies or it's just a disaster. But I've been using the Beardscape for over a year now. It's reliable, it's dependable, it's tough. The motors has got a lot of power. You don't get those tugs. The blades stay really sharp. You don't have to oil them as often as the steel blades because it's got a ceramic blade. It stays sharper longer than steel. It's great. It's powerful. One charge lasts a long time. I've been using it for like over a year. Like I said, it's rad. It may be time for you too to upgrade to the Beardscape. Go to Brio for Life. That's Brio, the number 4life.com, and use code SMOKING at checkout. Code SMOKING at checkout to get the best price on the internet on the Brio Beardscape.
Yeah, that's a fucking video. It was like they did a Hoonigan video. I guess they're doing something where they have a drag race for like 100 feet at a wall. Have you seen this?
No.
They have people basically play chicken with a wall side by side. So it's like maybe it's like 300 feet.
What?
And you have two people and they drag race and, like, you know, first one to bitch out like loses. Should we tilt the wide towards Alan a little more? So Vinny, you know, representing VF and engineering, Vinny goes down there with a Performante, and they have also a customer's Performante, and these two motherfuckers like straight launch control at a wall, and Vinny goes fucking deep as hell. And like and ABS is, you know, maybe like 4 inches from the wall.
What is this wall made of?
I think it was a shipping container.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
I think it was a shipping container. Alan Macey from the, is it Macey or Massey? Macey? Macey, like the fucking department store.
Not quite. It's got an E in there, but
that's a good point. Yeah, get that mic kind of close to you. You sort of have to like eat this here microphone.
That sounds incredibly.
How's our sound?
This is dangerous for everybody.
Good? Do we have an audience? Are they there?
We do.
Do they do they know that we're fucking here? What up, fucks? Hi. Hello, live.
Someone says a dual clutch is better. Fight me.
What?
Someone's-
Better.
yeah.
Than manual.
Than a manual fight me.
Well,
How would that insurance work exactly?
wait, by insurance, do you mean fucking waiver? That's a straight waiver, sir.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I wouldn't do it.
They're really
in my
testing
own
the
car.
legal system.
Well, what they're hypothesizing and proving is that people value being famous over almost anything because you're willing to risk your own shit for their rev share.
Yeah. Well, the Burnyard is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I really think it's cool, and people go out there and they're trying to kill it to then get looked at on the channel.
Right.
And so people are like smashing bumpers and
Yeah.
stuff, but it's clearly like track cars. But this is very different.
Yeah, to launch control 2 Lambos at a wall is ballsy.
Really, really
Yeah.
gnarly.
Yeah,
Good
I mean,
on
it
Vin
really
for not
does
hitting
help
it.
that it's not actually Vinny's car. That's a really good
Yeah,
stuff.
but it also is his job. Like, I feel like he wouldn't have it
I
if
think
he
he
hit.
got approval to do that. I mean, he didn't steal the car.
No,
like,
no,
he
no,
went
he
over there
didn't.
to
I
do
know.
that
No,
shit.
yeah. Wow.
I think Nick at VF would want Vinny to go hard.
That's incredible.
And by the way, all the comments on the video are about how Vinny looks like Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast on, what is it? Fucking Thursday.
Thursday.
It's Thursday. Yeah. We're a little late on this podcast because got married and decided rather than kill myself to get shows out, we are just going to catch up as we catch up. And so, Alan Macey of the Manual Gearbox Preservation Society with a Two-Hearted Ale. What's happening, man?
Not a whole lot, man.
Get closer.
Great
You
to
gotta
be here.
Either
Yeah,
bring it
sorry.
to you or get to it.
This is my first time on a podcast.
Ever? Well, it's like radio.
You'll hear if
except-
you get too quiet, you just
Yeah,
got to go back.
That's
Yeah.
why the headphones.
I'm still trying to get used to the headphones. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I just hate my voice. And
Well,
But I'll
tell you what,
I'll figure
it
it out.
sounds like fucking garbage over here. Your voice is just a disaster.
I know. I've been living with that my whole life.
You should drink that beer as fast as possible, and you'll forget about the sound of your own voice.
That's what I'm doing. That's absolutely
exactly
what I'm
why
doing.
I brought the beer.
Welcome to the show. We all hate the sound of our own voice. We all hate how we. Oh well, some of us hate how we look on video. And you know what? Wearing the headphones though, it makes you better at radio because you go away from the mic, and now I can hear myself, and now I know when I'm doing good.
It's
See?
all starting to make a lot of sense.
There is a science to the art, my friend. What the fuck is the Manual Gearbox Preservation Society?
So, it all started as a T-shirt.
That's as they do.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
I was conceived actually as a T-shirt.
Yeah,
My mom was wearing a shirt that said "Put a baby down there." Is that bad, Zach? Sorry.
Yeah.
So bad.
That's pretty bad.
Oh, there's so many places to go.
Yep. You want to take
I,
over?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
So, what was the T-shirt? The Manual Gearbox Preservation Society T-shirt.
yeah. Like I'd been a car designer for a while, but
Really?
in the background, we had always been kind of building this like automotive lifestyle brand since around like 2002. It really all was like my dad's idea. He just kind of thought there aren't really that many cool brands out there for car guys making good stuff. Like the quality of product that you were getting even at like a race from an official team was kind of just not that great. So we were just kind of doing it as a hobby, and we've got a book that we published through that brand, and
Called what?
H Point. It's
Okay.
kind of a text. I brought you a copy.
Oh, thanks.
So that brand just kind of like was just this kind of background hobby. It was a good excuse for me to kind of learn how marketing worked, and just kind of like this fun thing going on in the background. And at some point, somebody kind of came up to me and said, "Hey, you need to do more like generic stuff, because I'd love to buy your shirts, but I'm not going to buy a Porsche shirt because I don't own a Porsche." And so I just started thinking about what would be kind of just like a cool graphic. And so I was playing around with like just thinking about weird old clubs. And
Yeah. I used to work at a branding company in New York called Gray and Gustafson. They did like advertising and shit. And I spent a long fucking time coming up with fake events to make fake T-shirts for like literally like to sell at Target.
Yep.
Yeah, like that. I spent so
Exactly.
long writing down like fucking frog stomping festival, like, oh, you know what I mean, like the
Wow.
the
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
Bear Lake. I like all this like alliteration, like the Big Bear Lake Big Bass Boat bang off or some shit like, and then I'd make like weird graphics.
What year was that?
2005, 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like when Abercrombie was peak making up fake businesses,
Right.
like Abercrombie Ski Patrol and all that
Super
shit.
Dry and all those brands that just
I was
kind of
doing it to help bigger businesses knock off knock off the medium businesses that were doing it. Are we gonna get rid of that? Yeah.
So, there's a Kinks record called the Village Green Preservation Society that I always just kind of thought that was a funny name and kind of a funny thing to have a society about.
Have you researched what that is? What is the Village Green? Do you know?
I'm assuming it's something to do like a bowling green, like a community bowling green or something, but I haven't actually looked into that. But so we put out this shirt, and for us it was doing pretty well, and but we were just kind of doing our thing, and then I get a call from the Wall Street Journal one day, or I was actually an email asking to do a call, and I thought it was kind of a joke because at the time I was working in this place, a lot of people were pulling a lot of pranks and stuff. So I'm like, this is weird, but I followed up on it, ended up interviewing with the guy several times, and kind of got to the end of the interview thing, and I'm like, man, this is weird. Like, I feel like I'm going to come off like a crazy person. So I kind of just didn't like really think about it that much, and then I was traveling, and the journalist called me and said, hey, you should really get a newspaper today. Go get a Wall Street Journal. And
they print out here. Is this the story?
I can't read it because I'm not subscribed.
Oh, you're not subscribed?
Yeah.
Oh,
but it is there.
It would have been back.
Paywalls.
It would have been back in like 2015. I don't think that's the article.
This is 2015.
Oh,
yeah.
Does it say Alan Macey into the first two words?
Yeah, Alan Macey.
There you go.
You're clutching the past.
Maybe they changed the title for digital.
They must.
Can we
get you
just
to click
Can we just pour one out for this amazing pun?
We can do it again.
Alan Macey is clutching the past.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was afraid of, how punny and kind of corny is this article going to be?
It's in the first 4 words.
Yeah, exactly.
It's strong. Yeah.
So I get on the plane, and I had made a fake, Facebook page for my fake club. It had like 17 followers or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm at the airport. I grab the newspaper, pick it up, and flip it over, kind of like how you look at a paper, and there it is. The article's on the cover.
Oh, that's hilarious.
My name is the first 2 words in it.
There you go.
And I'm just like, holy shit, this is crazy. So we get on the plane, and now my fake club has 7,000 followers.
How many followers does your fake club have now?
90,000.
Oh, really? That's fucking
it's
rad.
Getting close to 90,000.
And all you did was come up with a T-shirt and fucking sell some merch? That's rad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do. I try to, keep a lot of content going.
Well, no. I mean, in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, that's a great way to fucking start something. That's rad.
Well, H point. So you worked as a designer for Jeep.
So I left the car business about a year ago.
Okay.
But
what was your job as a designer? Was it like super confidential or something?
No, not at all. So I mean, I guess a quick backstory. I went to school at Art Center.
Awesome. I love that place.
Yeah, it's a good place.
It makes me feel unaccomplished every time I go there.
I'm a teacher there now, and it
Are you really?
still makes me feel that way.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it's a special place. It's cool.
We could do a whole other show about that.
Yeah.
In fact, that should be this show. Once we're done talking about T-shirts,
yeah. So we, I graduated kind of bad time. Like everybody knew that the writing was on the wall for the car business. It was 06.
Oh,
and, so my wife now and I were kind of struggling for a while. But I did some cool, I was doing toys and doing a bunch of work for Yamaha. But then FCA was coming out of bankruptcy, and Ralph was trying to put a new team together, and he had worked with my dad in the past. And I kind of had a reputation for being like a fun guy, I guess, like to drink and party. And
that's a perfect qualification for being on my team.
Okay.
Do I want to hang out with you late at night? Yes. Right. Come on.
Yeah, Ralph's a fun dude too. And he can drive.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. And I think he was trying to build a team that wasn't just the best car designers, but it was also a team that worked well together. So I went in there. First I was in the advanced studio, which is where they kind of do a lot of the all new cars.
Yeah.
And then we were, in there I was working on stuff like the minivan and
like the Pacifica?
What's the Pacifica now? The version that I was working on was really different. It was, looking at it from a completely different perspective. But
what? Can we talk about this? This sounds interesting. I'd like to go down a minivan rabbit hole real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the basic.
Dude, the Caravan is amazing.
We take minivans on racetracks like all the time and mob them.
Minivans are awesome. I mean, Ralph took me for a lap around Grattan, and he had a Dodge RT. Short wheelbase with the long wheelbase motor, and he had
motors. Yeah.
He had Viper brakes in it.
In the minivan?
In the minivan.
What?
And this was probably in like 1998, 1999. And,
that's fantastic. Good for him.
That's so cool.
And I don't remember if the driver's seat was like a proper seat, but the passenger seat was like a stock Dodge Caravan seat. And I just remember getting out of that car, and it was like both sides of me were just worked out, and I just thought I was going to fly out the window the whole time.
We put cameras on these things, and we're trying to film like a race car, right? So you need to get the shots, but like you're in like second gear in a race car, and practically like bogging it, but you are fucking caning that minivan.
Oh yeah.
And JF Musial, I think. Who do you think's better in the minivan, Zach? You or JF? Who's faster?
I think JF. JF
has a lot of minivan
He has more
experience.
seat time. Yeah.
But for a long time, the Town and Country was the best. Had the best on track dynamics. But have you done
true? 100% true.
No, seriously. we wanted to do. I pitched to Road and Track to Travis to do a fucking minivan like track test, like straight best motoring style.
Yeah.
And he was like, go fuck yourself. Is the Pacifica better than the Town and Country on track?
It's not on track. It's a very nice van, but it feels heavier. Yeah.
I mean, it's got 20s. That the wheels alone, I think, would probably mess it up.
Really? Okay. Town and Country short wheelbase was where it was at. That was the shit.
Which they still rent.
They still have them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're fucking, you can flick them really nice. And they got the click on, click off parking brakes, so you can, woo!
Traction control is one button.
That's the shit.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a crazy time at the company because they basically were they were coming out of bankruptcy, and they had to completely refresh their entire lineup. So I think that in the studios, it's broken up by brand.
Yeah.
But we were all basically one team, and they were basically redoing like 16 cars at once with multiple trim levels. And then the studio I was in was more focused on the all new product. And then I think I'm not exactly sure how it all happened, but at some point Ralph decided, okay, we're going to start sketching on Viper. And this was Gen 5 Viper. And I think he was maybe, it was like maybe like a little bit of a morale booster. It was a total long shot. Nobody really thought the car was going to happen, but everybody was working.
Because they were like about to like sell off the tooling for the plant and like all of that, like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was like the Viper like brand was for sale. Like the brand, the rights, the factory, like I think it was maybe
there was
10, 15 million. You could have bought the entire Viper brand and just built like Zach Vipers.
Yeah.
Well, they were selling chassis, and that there was a company called Devon.
The Devon GTX. Remember that shit? Justin Bell drove the I think it was a record-setting lap at Laguna.
The Vipers definitely set some records there.
Devon. The Devon had the
car's capable of.
Yeah, the Devon had the record.
For sure.
Yeah,
that was good looking.
It was kind of cool. Yeah, I thought it was pretty neat. I think they only made 2 of them. It's very like French Art Deco. Like if you told me that was French, like a new Delahaye, or if you told me that was the new TVR, I'd fucking believe you.
Yeah, that was designed by a guy I went to school with. Actually, his name is Jay Wilbur. What's up,
really?
Jay? He's a good dude.
What is he? Do you know what he's up to now? Has he designed other things?
Well, he worked at Honda quite a bit, but now I think he's out doing his own thing. He's like got this like scooter brand or something that he's trying to do.
Like a mobility kind of thing?
No, it's more like the Honda Ruckus.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like that type of thing where
the Ruckus is excellent.
Yeah, I think they're cool.
What else? What do like some of your other classmates go on to do? That sounds like a kind of a neat tangent.
Oh man, like Sasha Selepanov, he left. He was chief designer at Bugatti. He did the Chiron, and then he did the
just that.
Yeah,
it's a shit resume, huh?
Yeah,
nothing major.
And then he went to Genesis and did those 2 most recent show cars, and now he just bounced from there.
That's excellent. And he's your age.
Yeah,
graduated Art Center 06. That's
actually,
excellent.
When Sasha started at,
was that him?
Yeah, that's him. He wears a Metallica t-shirt. Like, if you look at the team photos.
Oh, dude. I love his fucking face. I just love his Russianness.
So, this is a very special man. If he's ever... you got to get him in here sometime.
Is he around here? Is he local?
He's living in Europe right now, as far as I know. But I'll get...
Bro, we got to shoot him an email. This guy seems exactly like the kind of person I want on this program.
He's awesome. Very strong opinions about a lot of things. Yeah. No, he... So, actually, when I was interning at Volkswagen working on Bugatti stuff when Sasha hired in. So, he basically finished school when I was about halfway through.
Can I ask briefly what it's like to intern at Bugatti? That seems like an interesting job title to drop when you get back from fucking sophomore year of college.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What'd you do for the summer? Caddied. Where were you? Molsheim. What's that? I was interning for Bugatti.
Yeah. So, at the time... Bugatti's part of Volkswagen, right?
Yeah.
So my internship was actually at Volkswagen, and it was in the studio. There was a brand new studio they had just built in Potsdam, which is kind of right on the outskirts of Berlin. And I had, basically the best summer of my life. Just drawn mainly the first half of the internship, or the first internship was Volkswagen. I think it was a Golf 5 mainly we were working on, and I was just partying really hard. Because
as you do. Because you're in fucking Berlin.
Yeah, Berlin at age 24 is kind of...
Berlin is a sick party city.
Yeah.
Berlin and Munich both are fucking sick party cities.
Yeah, I lived in Munich for a little bit too, working at BMW.
Rules.
But, so then I think I got to the end of the first internship, and Achim, who was basically in charge of Volkswagen, like all the brands at that studio at the time, was kind of like, hey, it's a bummer you're going home because you're actually starting to get okay now. At doing this, so why don't you stay on for another 3 months, and we got a Bugatti project that you could work on.
That's so rad. How nice a compliment for an intern.
Yeah.
Stick around and work on this Bugatti. That's amazing.
Being an intern in the car design business is pretty cool because it's not like, I think in Hollywood or whatever, you're an intern, you're basically grabbing coffee and you're just not doing much. But most car companies, when you're an intern, like, you get just thrown into the deep end in a lot of ways, and you're competing on projects.
Like, can you as an intern like you as an intern could show up and present a drawing in the meeting that could be the next 4GT or whatever? Like,
yes,
that's a realistic a possible scenario.
I've seen that happen.
That's so fucking rad. So all of the sick shit that we're talking about, internships in Germany and industry connections and working on very high end projects, as well as consumer grade projects that are for very important cars. Did all of that start with Art Center? Or was there anything, were there hookups before that, or is that like the kind of thing that happens if you go to fucking Art Center? Because that sounds like a pretty rad college experience.
Art Center is one of the key things I think about going to Art Center. If I was gonna try to like sell somebody on going there, is that they do seem to have a little bit more access to internships than some of the other schools, and it's partly because the way their term system works, they go 3 terms a year, so you're not slave to like you can only do summer internships. So Art Center students can do an internship in the fall or the spring,
that's
and there's
probably
not
helpful.
a lot of competition out there at those semesters.
That's very
it's
smart.
like Ford or whatever's happy to have an intern whenever.
Exactly.
They don't give a shit that it's summer.
Yep,
that
and
rules.
So there's a little bit of an advantage there, but like, and my dad works in the car business.
What's he do?
He's president of Volkswagen.
Exactly. No, he's what was typically referred to as a studio engineer. So that's basically the engineers that work directly alongside the designers in the studio.
Is that like a reality check kind of job?
Yeah, a lot of reality checking.
I mean, honestly,
no.
Right?
I understand. And
imagine some fucking crazy Russian is like, look at this fucking thing I have drawn, and some guy's like, that's not that. Those don't exist.
Yeah. Well, that's why your book H Point. Just real quick segue. Like, it makes a ton of sense. A lot of people were complaining about like the new Supra, and then people pointed out correctly, like, well, they had to use the hard points from this existing platform, and you can only do so much. So I think that's probably a very important, probably a very stressful, combative job at some points.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, that's the reality of the job, and I think one thing that's made the job less fun is the fact that the car business is just so difficult to make money at. So you've got a ton of legacy items or parts or chassis, whatever it is, that need to be continued to be used for multiple generations. So like if you're in a production car studio, there's 9 out of 10 of the projects you get is just going to be making some changes to something that already exists. And even when it's not the case, there's so many engineering requirements with, especially now with pedestrian protection and things like that, that I hate to be like negative about it, but in a lot of ways a car sort of like starts to design itself. And you're working in this like really narrow window of like, and that was honestly part of what started to make me feel a little bit jaded or overdoing car design, just because I felt like a lot of times I'd be drawing and getting beaten up, and you trying to come up with an idea, and it's like, man, you're not going to sell one more car because I make a line go like this, or if I make a line go like that. But in this room, that's like a really big deal, and it's kind of like, I don't know, this just doesn't really make much sense to me. But
you know what John Hennessy told me at SEMA last year? He had that Venom F5 thing that they're doing. Have you seen that? Can you pull up a picture of the Venom F5? It's like his second generation Venom GT, okay? But it's not based on the Lotus anymore at all.
Oh yeah,
so it's this yellow thing they've been carting around, right? And it has, if you look at it, you can see elements of nearly every other supercar cobbled together in a way that, well, in my opinion, I think actually looks pretty good. I think it's not ugly, and there's a lot of opportunity for ugly when you're building a car like that.
Yeah, it's amazing how bad it can go.
It can go really fucking bad, and this one hasn't. But when I saw John at SEMA, and I was like, that F5, that thing looks pretty good. He goes, no human gets credit. He goes, we plugged in our targeted goals for top speed and downforce into a bit of software that fucking sat there and thought for 3 days, and it spit this motherfucker right out.
Yep.
That's it.
And that's increasingly the case, to the point where I'm sure later when we're talking about manuals and automatics and things like that and autonomous cars, this point lands there too. But the creative process is also there's a lot of creative tools out there now with generative design that, what Autodesk, which is one of the main software companies, is getting to the point where a design leader will basically be able to tell a computer like, hey, here's all the engineering requirements. Here's a car I like, here's a lamp I like, and here's this. Now show me some stuff like that. And within, a matter of
literally like a
I believe it.
Here's a lamp. Here's a razor.
Totally, because car designers look at lamps and stuff, watches, stuff all the time for inspiration. So then the computer is basically going to spit out like 100 answers without a single complaint. Versus if you ask me to do it, I'm going to be like, oh, that's a dumb idea. Do I have to? It's going to, and then that guy's going to be like, okay, well, these 50 are garbage, these 50 are okay, these 3 are pretty good. And then the computer will take those and it'll be like, well, can you make it a little bit more like this lamp instead of that lamp? And then it'll spit out a new design. And can
you literally, to zoom in a little bit, can you literally input a fucking picture of a lamp? Or are we talking about that level?
What I'm talking about, right? What I'm talking about is a little bit theoretical at the moment.
Okay.
That's where things are headed.
Right.
But right now,
at this point, it's fucking hard for me to distinguish between theoretical and literal, right?
Well, so
and certain people go out of their way to blur those lines.
Well, I mean, the software will go that way, of course.
That's where everything's headed. Yeah. So, I mean, like my dad right now, he works at a company called Divergent 3D.
No way.
Yeah. So he's
I just was talking to them.
He's a director of vehicle architecture innovation or something like that.
This is the 3D printed car, right?
3D print enabled. So there's the fact that they're 3D printing metal's not that big a deal because there's a lot of people doing that. What's special about what they're doing is looking at what parts of a car does it make sense to 3D print to enable completely different approach to manufacturing, completely different approach to the sales volumes, things like that. So it's a much more holistic.
Wasn't the idea basically that you could 3D print parts locally in different parts of the globe to minimize or drastically reduce the transit and shipping costs of building cars?
Yeah,
which I'm 100% on board with because fuck ships.
Yep. Yep.
Like, why
exactly.
do people want to come down on us for driving old sports cars when you have a 30-year-old ship crossing the ocean 250 days
Yeah, I mean,
a year?
I think the big stat that people refer to quite a bit is that like I think Long Beach Harbor and LAX create more pollution than every single car in California on a daily basis.
But the shiny, glossy thing about Divergent 3D is that they did build what is apparently a drivable 3D printed car.
Yep.
That looks like the fucking Demolition Man shit. It's rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
and
does.
I think that is an ongoing thing, but I think definitely that is a lot about showcasing the technology, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know necessarily that like actually being a car company is important to what they're doing. It's a lot more about how they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, when I was on the call with them, they were really pushing the manufacturing thing, and I was like, that's super cool. I'm really on board with it. Would love to talk about that, but I'd love to doing it while driving that fucking car.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, you know,
They were like,
sounds
it
like
doesn't
you're
work.
connected.
look at it.
with
I
them.
want to drive it. Yeah, I don't know if they were about it, but whatever. It looks rad. That's cool that your dad works with them. How cool.
Yeah, I've never seen him so excited. Before he was there, he was he had pretty much kind of like resigned himself to like, you know what, nobody really values what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna kind of enjoy the last 10 years of my career taking it easy. And
Nobody values reality checking.
yeah,
Design anymore.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Was he at Tesla? No, sorry.
No, I won't say who he was working for at the time, but so then these guys called him up, and it was a bit of a risk going there because it's a startup, but I think I've just never seen him so excited about his work, so it's really cool. He's a really enthusiastic guy anyway, but
seems like a very exciting company and local California shit.
Yeah, right down in like Gardena, right,
Torrance or something, right? They're right here. Yeah,
I never really know how to describe that. It's like,
dude, I never know.
El Segundo,
yeah, you can hit a golf ball into 3 different towns from
Exactly.
fucking one spot down there. So you rolled up in a fucking nice little 89 Carrera.
86.
Oh, you say 86? I'm sorry.
Yeah, my bad.
I misheard. 86, yeah. Black, chromes. Looks like Alex Roy's car, actually, but hardtop.
Oh, yeah?
He's got a Targa. Same
Nice.
wheels.
Yeah, I don't know. The wheels are like this weird guilty pleasure for me because I know that they're wrong. But every once in a while I walk up to the car, I take a photo of that car, and it's like, man, these wheels and this black paint really go well together.
Yeah, they're like
really
the
glossy.
Porsche semi-chrome Fuchs. They're not like, they're chrome, but they're like a duller chrome or...
Well, the way
partial
it's meant to
chrome.
be is just the raw aluminum polished.
Oh, is it?
And so so when you see a proper finish on a 911 wheel that's really reflective, then that just means that the aluminum's been polished like crazy. Chroming, I think, I don't think that came from the factory that way. I think it was like a dealer thing in the 80s.
That's totally true and possible, I think.
But you see it on Volkswagens all the time, but just less on Porsches, I think.
I was wondering when you were going to come up here, I was like, what? I was like, Zach was like, I said to Zach, like, I picture him as like a mirror of the Radwood people, and like, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah,
that's basically right.
I'm a millennial. It's
that's fine.
We were a millennial. It's into older cars, as we all are.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting how like Arts Center and maybe I guess a bit from your family, but Arts Center kind of led you that way, like because and I've said it a few times in the show, so if you're sick of hearing it, I'm fucking sorry. I wanted to design cars when I was a kid.
You made a really wise decision when
not to.
Yeah.
Well,
later.
Life could have gone differently. I'm glad I ended up where I did.
Yeah.
But like, if someone had told me to go to Arts Center and I went, I probably would have gone down, that exact road or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's anybody. It's a very challenging school to go to, just in terms of the quantity of work. But anybody can do it. It's
a trainable.
It's
thing.
a very skill based.
Could you draw when you went there?
I could draw probably better before I went there than I can now.
Really?
Now. If it's not a car, I'm not that good at drawing it. But that's because drawing is just is 100% practice. There's nothing else to it other than practice.
Really?
Being a good artist is different because there's taste involved, taking it that next level. But when it comes to the basics of it all, anybody can learn it. Anybody can do it. Anybody that is willing to throw away 4 years of their life, not sleeping, not having any personal relationships, and just basically, drawing cars and making models and
so you have to love it.
Yeah, you really have to love it, and then you get deep enough into it where you don't really have a lot of options, and you kind of have to finish.
Where that's the thing that you do.
That's what you do, and so it's I think for me, the reason I said you made the right decision is that it's frustrating to be a car guy surrounded by cool cars but not being able to drive them.
Oh yeah, I could
and
see
so,
that. Yeah,
I think what you do, you get to basically get in cars and drive the shit out of them.
I do get to do that, yes.
And then give them back when
That's
you're done with them,
too.
which is good because
nice.
car ownership is
I give back this McLaren
either.
Tomorrow morning, and boy, have I had a time with it.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
What was like the hardest car to give back ever?
Oh man, what press car do I? Well, so there have been a couple press cars that I've actually tried to buy, where I've said I will just keep. I said, don't even come get it. Just tell me where to send the check.
Yeah.
Those two were the 2013 X5M BMW that I took on one lap of America.
Yeah.
And I finished 30th out of 84 in a 5,300-pound truck. And I took it to Turner Motorsports in Massachusetts, the guys who build the race cars, and we fucking tuned it. There it is with the stripe. We put this beautiful little stripe on it. I thought that was a great look on that. And we tuned it. It was a press car. We fucking tuned it, and we made 600 of the tires.
Oh, nice.
And I ran an 11.5 quarter mile.
You did one lap
So
in
fast.
SRT Grand Cherokee too, right?
No, I raced against the SRT Grand Cherokee factory team. We then did the Rally North America, not a race, excuse me. That was a scavenger hunt rally in the SRT Grand Cherokee, which is a fucking phenomenal. The 392 car is a phenomenal vehicle.
I love that thing.
That is the best. That one's better than the Trackhawk because that one's balanced.
Yeah.
The Trackhawk is good for a goof.
Yeah.
But like I literally set the brakes on fire in it, and I don't really see the point.
Yeah.
I'll admit. I will cop to it because I'm doing my best to not be a hypocrite. I will cop to the fact that I did say the Hellcat motor should go in the Jeep and that will be the best.
Yeah.
It is. That's true.
Is it the quickest with the full?
Other than the
line?
Demon, it's the quickest to 60, I believe. Other than the Demon, yeah. And like, it does the things that they said it would do.
Yeah.
But like, ultimately, I think if they called it Hellcat Jeep instead of maybe they wouldn't allow the Hellcat to migrate across the Jeep.
That was a touchy subject because I had done a Moab Easter Safari build. Yeah. That was meant to have. It was going to have the Hellcat motor in it. And we got really far along. Like we were cutting tools for we had all these really cool carbon fiber wheelhouse liners. This thing was badass, and it was. I mean, we were deep into the build, and basically Jeep said, we don't want Moab to turn into a Hellcat story. Yeah. So they canned it, and then they did it the following year, but a different designer ended up following
with the green one, right?
Yeah. The green one, which was kind of sort of like what I had done, but I had pushed the front axle way forward, and they ended up moving the body forward too, so you couldn't really tell that the front axle had been moved forward, whereas the one I had done was kind of like much
had like a long
extreme
nose
look to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely some brand sensitivity around that.
I can understand that, but I think when you call something Trackhawk, they call a Jeep a Trailhawk. It implies it's good at trails. Yep. The Trackhawk implies certain things that Grand Cherokee Hellcat does not imply. And I just think it's so fucking heavy that
the Midwest, like a lot of guys that are into drag racing that I know refer to the drag strip as the track.
I know.
So maybe that
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I get it.
But I can't say that that's the case or not.
No, it is what it is. But I was like, you guys should put the fucking Hellcat motor in the Jeep. And then when I spent a week with it, including what ended up being quite a lot of track time at Road Atlanta, no less, I went, this is kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Like I don't, you know.
I,
But then I sold my Focus RS to a guy who also owned a Hellcat, and he also owned my old Fiesta ST. So he owned now 2 of my old cars, my Fiesta ST, my Focus RS, and he had a Hellcat.
And a lot of your old socks, if I remember.
a lot of my old socks. Some of Hannah's underwear. And I'm sorry, Clayton. That's a joke. And he's a listener for sure. And he traded the Focus RS and the Hellcat for a Trackhawk, which I actually think was the right move. I think a Focus RS plus a Hellcat equals a Trackhawk.
I don't know.
I see your math. All-wheel drive plus giant engine. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes sense for him to make that
But
trade. Like, I like this thing and this thing.
Yeah.
There's no genuinely tossable car in that
The
equation.
Fiesta ST. He kept the Fiesta ST. He kept the Fiesta.
Okay. Yes.
The Fiesta ST is the best Ford hatchback.
Yeah, in that case, that does.
The Fiesta ST fucking mobs. There were very few cars we've ever filmed, that could keep up with the Fiesta ST in the canyons.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
On a tight road, there's not a lot of cars keeping up with a well-driven ST.
I mean, it has a ton of torque. It's small. You can make everything into like a little apex.
Yeah.
And with all the torque, it pulls you out to the next corner because you're not
it's
doing like
very
huge
lovely.
straights.
Are those all-wheel drive?
No, front-wheel
Front-wheel drive.
But they weigh 2,600 and change.
Yeah.
You know, the all-wheel drive in the Focus RS was nice, but it was a 3,400 pound and change car, and there's just nothing you can do to make up for that.
For sure.
The fucking McLaren I'm driving is 3060 and has 600 horsepower.
Oh, my God.
It's batshit. But it's definitely, like, I'm driving a 600 LT, and it's definitely, like, I think growing up most of my life, I wanted the best. I'd rather have the best version of the lesser car than the entry version of the better car.
Yeah.
I think now that I'm in my late 30s, I think that's no longer the case. I don't want the hardcore version because the 6L100 LT is rad, but it's like having a cousin that's like a 5'6" juice head and really fucking aggro and is like wants to fucking attack that road, like I fucking attack it. Ah! You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas the 720S is like that fucking 75-year-old driving instructor that like fucking takes a call while drifting a 15-passenger van through the downhill at Lime Rock like he don't give a fuck, and he's just chill about the whole thing but doing it better than everybody else. Like that's a 720.
Yeah.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. Something for everybody.
But if you want to really love a 600 LT, my recommendation would be don't go fucking anywhere near a 720S. Because that car will, sorry, manuals. That car would not be improved with a manual. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think that there's there's a place for manuals, but I don't. At the tip of performance cars,
the pinnacle of performance right now.
Their day is over there.
I drove that converted Scud though. The EAG down in Texas.
I really want to hear about that.
Well, it's delightful.
It sounds like and you have a
I have a converted Vanquish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sent it. It's an 03, and I sent it back to England.
You're really like the poster boy of TMGPS, really.
Well, you got to wait because I'm already the king of Radwood. So you got to fucking line up and space it out a year before I'm the king of something.
Okay.
No, yeah. Right now, I have 2 cars in Los Angeles, and both of them are 30 years old and stick.
Nice.
And my girls, I have to have. She can drive stick, but she doesn't like to.
Yeah.
So we are looking at a new old car this weekend. I will not fucking say what it is, because if I say what it is, somebody will buy it. 100% somebody will buy it if I say what it is, because it's too good to for me to publicize and then for it to not go.
I thought somebody was going to do it to piss you off.
No, but people have bought cars that I've talked about on the fucking show before I could buy them. It's a real problem. Now we only talk about cars after we buy them.
That's very wise.
But it's old. It's not something new. So I think I'm proud of Hannah. She did so good in the podcast last time, and I think she really wants car guy cred. Like, she's on board with a very offbeat car that says she's willing to daily drive.
Well, she's probably learned like you can have your cake and eat it too when you're not looking for like a performance car. Like, she can have a comfortable vehicle that's safe, practical, and all those things, and looks cool, but it doesn't have to be a 2019 or 2018. Like, you can get something.
Yeah.
You can get that 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Well, she had this Volvo that was brand new, and it had like electrical hiccups up the fucking wazoo. Brand new car. She's making payments every month. Meanwhile, we've had the Mercedes. It's 18 years old, and you turn the key and start it and drive it, and nothing ever goes wrong.
That's funny. Wow, that's funny. Yeah.
And it's like, if that thing was a sedan, did you see Marco's E500? Check his Instagram, TLG Auto, or maybe Wristwatch Rabbit Hole. My friend Marco, my Porsche guy.
Yeah.
Marco at TLG?
I haven't met him yet, but I know quite a few people that go to him.
He is the shit. And he's been on the show. He's the fucking man. He's like my watch buddy, my car buddy. He just bought a fucking 115,000 mile E500 that is mint. It's so fresh. I'm very jealous.
Yeah.
If Hannah sees that, she would demand it.
Yeah. It's I feel like I've like fallen into the trap of like these cars that have these reputations for being totally bulletproof, and so you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, I'll buy a car from the 80s that's bulletproof, and then you get it and then you blow up the motor in like a month.
Well,
which is what I did to my 911.
That sucks. I'm sorry. I need to rebuild my engine too. I think my friend Jack Baruth wrote a really good article. I think it was for probably Truth About Cars, but it might have been Road and Track a few years ago, basically talking about the difference between reliable and durable.
Yeah.
So like an 80s Mercedes or a 80s Ferrari even, or a Porsche an air-cooled 911 or a Volkswagen Beetle is not reliable, but it's durable.
Right.
It's like with specialized maintenance that may cost a lot and specialized parts that may cost a lot, it's designed to last a very long time. Right. An air-cooled 911 is a galvanized body, and a basically a 1,000,000-mile engine case.
Yep. I think that's the thing. It's like the casing and the crank are bulletproof.
Yeah.
But your valve guides are going to wear out.
Right. Every 100K.
Yeah. And my mechanics
sooner.
told me at 60,000 miles he's seen completely worn out valve guides.
Wow. I wonder what those people have done with their fucking motors.
Well, hard.
That's probably just not taking care of it.
Yeah.
A lot of that's just oil maintenance, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, so the car's got a bulletproof reputation, but who owned it before you?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the problem with any old car, isn't it?
And okay, so it needs a top end rebuild. Can you afford to do that?
But I think the term bulletproof gets thrown around a little too loosely,
Yeah.
and I think we've talked about this a lot. But it's like you said, the galvanized body, the core of the vehicle in a performance vehicle can hold up to a certain type of driving. But all the parts, there's 1,000 parts that go into building a car. A lot of them are going to wear out if you drive it really hard. And the cars that last a really, really, really long time with very minimal maintenance, I think are, one, made to a precise spec, like 80s and 90s Japanese cars, but they're also not their highest performance models that are enduring the stuff we do to performance cars.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, a lot of there is stuff that is over-engineered, and if you leave a Toyota Supra Turbo stock, you can treat it like garbage and it'll be all right.
Ford GT.
The Ford GT, you leave a Ford GT stock and you can hammer it to fucking kingdom come and you'll never break it. There is certain stuff that is built to a higher tolerance. 911s, even the top end rebuilds on the 911s, they go kind of slowly. It'll start to smoke. Like, it won't just like
it's
boom.
Not, yeah, I had a catastrophic failure, but
maybe yours did.
that wasn't the valve guide's problem. But basically, I bought a car that had a bad rebuild done.
Oh, that's
and then I'm not 100% sure, but I think the owner might have paid the guy that I PPI'd it with to tell me, because he was like, they did a leak, the classic Porsche leak down test. He's like, oh my god, the compression on this car,
is it great? It's perfect.
He's like, well, these were
Trump's doctor. I've never seen such a fit president.
His exact
no
words,
one's more fit than a 70-year-old.
His exact words were, you know what, I know this car. He's like, there's two things you got to do with this car. You got to buy this car and drive it. And I'm like, deal.
Did you buy it out of state?
Out of state. I did everything wrong.
That sounds like a sale.
Everything wrong.
Unfortunate.
But you got to drive it away from here.
Yeah.
Home, if preferable. Cross county line, best.
Yeah. Pretty much. So that's what happened. And
get a PPI. Get a good, an independent one, I guess.
But that's hard. But how do you know? You hire someone in the shop, and
yeah.
I think the big lesson that I learned is don't fall in love with a car and then maybe skip some of the steps that you're meant to take when you're buying it.
Yeah.
And unless you're like a guy that has the money to hop on a plane and go look at a car and then walk away from it and get back on the plane instead of driving it home.
Yeah.
Then maybe you shouldn't be buying cars out of state.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the best thing, because when I was looking for cars, Musto was like, if you fly somewhere, you need to be okay with leaving somewhere in the plane.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know myself, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd go, well, fuck, I'm here, and you're just gonna go for it.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna look at the car, I'm like, yep.
You can decide it looks nice.
Looks good to me.
Yeah,
sounds good. I mean,
I got super
it.
lucky with mine. Mine was within 30 miles of Sharkworks, and I got to have Sharky look at it, and he, so I was just very lucky. That car could have been fucking anywhere. You know what I mean? And who knows what could have happened. But
I got a PPI done at like a BMW dealership, and they didn't notice that the cruise control didn't work. Yeah. They were like, yeah, everything's fine. And then I get in the car on the drive home, and was like, that doesn't work. Just like the small thing. They just look on it. You never know who's looking at the car, how detailed they're going to be.
Well, before I ended up buying that 911, I had my heart set on E39 M5, and that was like pretty much from your one take video.
The one where it broke down?
Yeah, the one where it broke down, which is ironic. But I was
They're lovely to drive. I'm a fan of the E39 M5.
And so I was getting them PPI'd all over the place, and everyone was coming back like, do not buy this car.
Yeah.
Like the cats are gone. There's just like a lot of stuff that gets really expensive with that car.
That's why EAG charges all that money.
Right.
Oh, shit.
And so I'm like, well, I'm done looking for these E39s, because by the time I'm done paying for all these PPIs, I could have bought like three other cars.
Yeah.
So
PPIs are great until you have to fucking get 7 of them.
You just buy an ISF.
Right?
Never touch
or
it.
Buy,
I'm just going to go get a Camry.
Yeah.
But, so I don't know how we got on the topic of
I
reliability.
don't know where we are either.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter, though.
Buying mistakes.
Someone was asking, I think we talked about converting my converted car. And
durability versus reliability.
Yeah. So anyway, there's this company in Texas, EAG. Not the same EAG as BMW, by the way.
Oh.
EAG in Ohio is Enthusiast Auto Group. They're in Ohio. Oh, wait, hang on a minute. Is Enthusiast Auto Group. The one in Texas is European Auto Group in San Antonio.
Those are the guys that did that Ferrari.
They're the ones who did the Ferrari, not the same people.
Yeah. What Ferrari?
The Scuderia.
Oh,
the manual Scuderia. Yeah, that's European Auto House.
Cars
that's
for sale
different.
I saw the other day.
Yeah, well, they very clearly flew me down there, and then in order to drum up hype and then to put it for sale. Which that's fine if that's your move. Like, okay, from where I sit, the experience was the same, and they let me really have a nice day in that car. I really enjoyed myself. You know what I really noticed the most about that, and here's what the difference between where you'd want a stick and where you don't.
Yeah.
The modern supercars, and I'll throw like the ZR1 into the new ZR1 into this. They have so much fucking torque that you really do want both your hands on the wheel.
Yeah.
Like driving, I don't want to drive a 720 fast one-handed, and I felt uncomfortable driving the ZR1 at Road Atlanta one-handed. I felt more even though the automatic they sell is a fucking flaming pile of garbage. Like I'd actually on the track I was like, no, give me the auto, because I actually feel a little sketched out going this fast with a manual. But with the Scud, no one's saying that a Scud is a slow car. It's not a slow car, but it only has like 350 pounds of torque, and those happen way up high. And it doesn't have that crazy turbo shove that makes it fucking feel like you're gonna, vaporize the tires instantly. So when you take that shove away, it makes driving stick a lot more fun.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's a winner. That car was a winner. I mean, really the best Ferrari I think I've ever driven.
Wow.
I haven't had it go in an F40. But I don't really fit in them. Really? They're weird. They have a very weird carbon sill on
the door.
It's not the seat itself. The seat itself is fine. There's a non-adjustable steering wheel that's like a big old school
and it's
one.
angled away from you.
Angled in a very funny way. and then there's a big carbon Kevlar side sill thing, and then the shifter comes really close to the steering wheel. So actually, I can't really move the shifter because of my right leg. It's not actually. It sounds like a cop out because it's not because I'm fat. My gut doesn't touch the steering wheel.
It's like a height thing.
My right leg. No, it's my right leg. Yeah, my right leg blocks the shifter.
I mean, just the ergonomics of having a fixed wheel is very weird in this day and age. And for performance driving, like everyone's a different size. You want the wheel close to you. But I think in that car, when I've watched videos even of Harris, who's small, the wheel's tilted away, so the action of your hands is tilted away. Like it's just a totally different movement. I bet. Because ergonomics plays a part in best car ever.
Ferrari's angle, no pun intended. The reason Ferrari did that like that is because if you don't have power steering, you actually have a lot more leverage fore and aft with your arms than you do in a vertical. Most other cars go more vertical, but Ferrari, and if you try and drive a Ferrari, like an old Ferrari like that really fast, you kind of have to shuffle steer a bit. You don't really hand over the top. You sort of underhanded shuffle it.
Wow.
And it actually kind of works. Like, it's a little awkward at first. Like, if you look at a 308 sitting in a car show, you go, that is the most fucked up seating position. I don't get it. And then you actually drive when you go, oh, this actually sort of makes some sense. It's I don't really know why it does. But
well, the mechanics make perfect, like, this will sound super douche. You're stronger in like bench and rows than you are holding a plate out in front of you. So that with new cars with power steering, we can perfect how much we want the wheel tilted and how much reach we want. But back then, it was like, what is the easiest thing on the human body?
Shout out to the Lamborghini Countach, which has tilt and telescope steering wheel.
How do you fit in that thing?
It's the most comfortable Lamborghini sports car I've ever driven.
Even like getting in and out of it?
Yeah.
In and out of it and everything?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, well, no. Getting in and out of it, yes, because you know why? The opening is still really small in a lot. Like, all right, full transparency, I have to take my shoes off to drive it. The pedal box is so tight that I have to drive it barefoot, and I tried with driving shoes, and even that doesn't work. I do have to drive it barefoot. However, once I'm barefoot or with socks on, whatever, I can put my feet behind the pedals. I can fully stretch out my both legs behind the pedals if I need to. And once I'm seated in the car, I find it to be very comfortable.
Nice.
More comfortable than any of the modern Lambo sports cars I've sat in. The Urus is quite comfortable, as one would expect.
Yeah, that's a big... that car's quick.
Or Urus? Fuck yeah, it's quick. No one said that shit wasn't quick. It's quick. It's just an Audi. It's a quick Audi.
Yeah, I
just saw my first Q8 on the road. It really
big.
It's a good thing they put the Urus out first, because it fucking you can see all the Q8 in the Urus once you see the Q8.
But the Urus doesn't look as massive. The Q8, I saw one of those for the first time the other day, and I just couldn't believe how wide it looks.
Urus is very wide. It's shorter.
They're probably the exact same width, but I think just the way the taillights are designed, maybe, or just because the Audi has that full cross-car taillight, you just read and it's like a flat.
You see
back.
how big it
is. See that full width. And
when you look at cars, like new cars that come out like that, because you know about hard points and design and engineering and all this, do you look at them in a kinder way, or are you as critical as we usually are?
Well, definitely the one big thing that I wait for is to see a car in person. I never really like to judge a car in photos because you don't have enough there's just the context isn't there to really genuinely evaluate it, especially odd or bad cars that look. There's a lot of cars that tend to look bad in photos, but in person they're much better. I'm trying to think of a good example.
2015 Mustang.
Yeah,
it was one.
Yeah, but the Mustang's a car that can be photographed. There's stuff on the Mustang that, like, if you look at that car in just the right view, the problems go away.
Yep,
but
of course.
If you walk around the car and you see certain things from different angles, you're like, oh man, what's going on there? You know? So
like that car, if you look, and like the new Vantage, both of them, if you look at them directly profile, looking at the hood, all I can see is pedestrian safety laws, because it's like the drop from the top of the hood to the front of the headlights is very extreme, and the headlights are like a little bit squished in the front. And but when you move around, they look good. They look good. Yeah,
and the big one, that like the Ped Pro thing. If you think about where BMW was kind of in the early 2000s, where their hoods were just a couple seemed like they were just a couple inches above the tire.
Yeah.
And now if you look at modern cars, that height between
the amount of metal you see above the tire at the front.
Yeah, because you've got your shock towers right there, and that's a really hard part of the car. So now there's all this air above between the hood
because
surface.
the shock tower is used for the crossover also? Is that why, or is that just for pedestrian safety?
Just for pedestrian safety, because basically the way that the rules are set up makes it so that when a pedestrian gets hit and then their head hits the hood has to be able to change shape enough to absorb the impact, rather than like if there's a strut tower right there, their head's just going to split like a watermelon.
Right, that makes sense.
So that's what's really happening with a lot of the proportional stuff. And that's why you see like even Tesla, who gets around tons of stuff because they don't have a motor in the front end of their sedans, they still have the same problem because they haven't solved it for the strut tower yet. So, so you kind of still get a lot of the same problems.
That's why the center of like the three, it kind of like drops in like a bowl, but the outsides are kind of high.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what about like Corvette? How would they handle that with Corvette? Is there, because Corvette has a very, they're taking out ankles at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's two fundamental kind of approaches to Pet Pro. There's like what happens when you hit the ankle, and then in the case of like a lower car where you might strike the ankle and it's going to toss the person like where they're not going to hit the hood,
right?
Then it's less of an issue. But most cars tend to hit somebody and then they kind of the upper part of their body flops down onto the hood, and it's really something that's pretty, even in the thick of it, figuring out exactly how all that's going to work is very complicated. But like you'll see a lot of cars will have these almost like these fang shapes in top view when you look at the front splitter area, where it'll kind of like be going forward and then it'll cut back.
If you're looking down from above?
Yeah. So like right in front of the headlights, you'll see like a little fang shape, like a
point?
Like a point, and then it cuts back towards the center. And
Okay.
goes across.
I mean, we have an above from the Corvette here. Can we zoom in on that?
I know the C7, if you can see that view doesn't show the splitter.
It doesn't show the splitter, but I can picture the plastic splitter coming out. Yeah.
Basically, every car has that.
Yeah.
And the reason that every car has that right now is because there's a point in space that the engineers have to be able to take this plane up to, and the plane has to hit this theoretical point before it hits anything else.
Oh.
So, but then that goes against
there it is. Zoom in on the very right bit. You're talking about the zigzaggy part of the splitter, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I know this. I know.
So if you brought
Zach fucked it all up.
If you brought that line at that distance away from the fascia all the way around the front, you get into other problems like ramp over issues. So basically the overall length of the front end is so long that it starts to scrape on stuff.
Yeah,
but
I've just designed a ramp so that exact car doesn't have that exact problem.
Right, and it's always going to hit first at the center line because the front of the car's so round that longest, you're creating an angle, and the shorter that is, the less. That's why like Jeeps have such short front overhangs. But those fangs are there basically to meet one test where they basically take a plane and push it towards the car, and it has to hit that point before it hits anything else.
So that's
weird.
not a style choice.
Wow.
That's not anything. That looks like that specifically.
It's sort of a cheat around an engineering requirement.
Interesting.
Because
Do you
it does
think
look cool.
if you had your choice as a stylist and forget that requirement, you wanted to make the prettiest little, pull that picture back up, Zach. If you wanted to make the prettiest little front splitter you could, would it be a round piece basically, like almost a semicircle?
I mean, I think that there's some interest that you get out of having that there. I think that maybe just a less extreme version of that could be cool. I like simpler design, so yeah, if it were me, I would probably just go straight across. But
I think that does happen to work visually.
Yeah.
It's not a bad look. But now that you see it and you know why it's there, you can't unsee it.
I think that it's if it was like on the C7 and it was like a design cue for the car, then it would be like, oh, that's cool. But when you start to notice it on literally every single car you see, you're like, wait a minute, why
is that on the Tahoe?
Everybody doing this?
Why'd you put that Corvette splitter on your Porsche?
There's one on the Dodge Durango.
Oh, wait, look,
man.
I also can't unsee this panel gap variation.
Dodge, that panel gap in that picture looks atrocious.
Where the hood meets the front bumper fascia is very big, but on between the two headlights. But then when you go outside the headlight, it's very, very tight.
That's because that one doesn't move. So the hood has overslam, right? So
right.
That one is like got fasteners holding it together, whereas the other one has extra room
because it opens.
Because it opens and shuts, and when it slams, it goes further down than the fascia surface.
Right, so it doesn't hook.
So you have to make sure that it never gets stuck underneath there. And because
Interesting.
especially American cars get built to a slightly lower tolerance, those gaps all have to be bigger because that hood could get assembled at the plant like 4 millimeters too far forward. And then now the guy won't be able to open his hood after he closes it for the first time. So
American cars get assembled at a lower tolerance.
So I guess, to kind of answer your question,
it doesn't just feel like they do. They actually do.
You do start to have more sympathy for things like that, especially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know why the hood gap is much bigger than the fascia gap. So I'll be like, I'm not going to criticize.
You know what always
that.
drove me nuts? The fucking 05, 06 Ford GT rear bumper inconsistent gap. Zach, give me a picture of a Ford GT that shows the rear bumper. The most Jamal Hamidi used to defend this all the time. I used to give him so much shit about the fucking panel gap on the Ford GT. What has happened there? Whatever Zach tried to do just worked. Just backfired really bad.
Type in Ford GT, it pulls up Mustang. There we go.
Yeah. No, not kind of from the side.
Maybe outside. Okay.
Yeah, because you can see it's a really bad. It's a really and people apparently were bringing their cars back in. Yeah, pick any of those top cars there and then zoom in. See the gap between the rear clamshell and the rear bumper is wildly inconsistent. Oh, it might be. This is a press photo, so they might have really gone out of their way to make that one.
They would have retouched it
to make that one retouched.
Plus, they'll gap a car they know it's going to get a lot of photos taken of.
Yeah, that always looks fucking terrible.
But that's partly because that panel is just so big.
It's a giant clamshell panel.
The bigger the panel, the more variation there's going to be in it.
You mean this? How it's like bigger here and smaller there?
That one, the second one, the one on that protrudes the 2 o'clock position from the rear tire, is always fucked.
No, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the things. Hey, if you want to get us on the super chat, throw them in the next couple minutes, and then we're going to close that down. What the fuck else do we need to talk about? 600 LT is good. That's a nice one. Gets approval, but it's not the 720. Here's the problem with the 600 LT. The one I'm driving has $75,000 in options on it. That's a problem because the car that starts at $240,000 and is probably a fucking real strong value at $240,000, this one's $310,000, and the last 720 I drove was $330,000. This one's awful close to a basic 720.
Is that kind of like the Cayman 911 math, where it's like, we'll get you close, and then you go, ooh, you might as well.
Totally. Yeah. They want to bump you up into that.
Well, who is this car for then? Who is this?
Track day people, for sure.
Hardcore track day people.
Yeah, if you want, if everyone else has a GT3 RS for their track days, and you wanted something that was faster than that and a little ragged and crazy, this is a good thing like that. I like it for that. Thin people.
The cabins aren't big in those cars.
The bucket seats are tight. Yeah, it's not like super comfy like the 720 is. And if you're one of those people that's like obsessed with weight reduction, I mean, you can ditch the air conditioning in this car at no cost and get it under 3,000 pounds. Like, you can have a 600 horsepower car that does weigh under 3,000 pounds if you want.
Wow.
But like, it has, one of the options are MSO front fender louvers, carbon, 12 G's.
Whoa.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? It has like carbon exterior packs 1 through 4. That's like $35,000. And
does the version of the car that doesn't have the louvers, or doesn't have the carbon louvers, have louvers at all?
Yes, they are made of plastic instead of carbon.
So you get all the performance out of the plastic.
The only option I believe that this car has that really could potentially affect performance are the lightweight wheels.
Oh, yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, lightweight wheels I think are probably legit.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe you save a couple of pounds with some of the carbon, but like, bro, the bezel around the shifter buttons like in the center console, just the bezel. It's like a carbon bezel that's maybe the size of like a small baguette.
Yeah.
Let's call it. Is $3,800. You know what I mean? And it saves grams. That little bit where your mouse is, Zach. The little bit at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, and then it has this upgraded stereo, which is like $8,000, and it's okay.
So that's one thing that like I just I like older cars, but one thing I just don't understand. I've never been able to get my head around the idea of like an extreme performance vehicle that has a bunch of luxury features. Like,
well, okay, continue. I'm sorry. I would.
Well, I mean, I'm asking you more because you get to experience these cars a lot more than me, and you drive them on the street as well as on the track. And I look at a car like that. To me, it's like this engineering marvel and just an absolute weapon.
Yeah.
And what do I care about the radio when I'm driving a weapon? You know, it's
okay. I mean, okay. So here's the thing. I've driven. Let's take this 600 LT as an example. I drove one today, all day pretty much, by myself. On the press launch, I drove one that had a passenger in it. Could I, good not great driver, tell the difference in performance by myself versus with the passenger? No.
right.
So if that's the case, if I can't feel that 100 pounds, and I understand this is a slippery slope, but if I can't feel that extra weight in the car, if the sensations to me are the same, and if I'm not actually racing it, I want a radio. Because an engine sounds great for the first 45 minutes. And eventually, like, I was up in the canyons today blasting music and driving fast. And, like, I enjoyed that. And, like, I live a place where it's hot.
Right.
And I've driven cars hard as balls with the air conditioning on, like a modern car.
Yep.
It doesn't really affect performance unless you're really on the clock.
Well, and that's like something that...
So those are two things I do want.
Right. It's funny because a lot of what, you know, if you look at some of the negativity around, or with Team GPS and people being like, well, why do you care about manual cars? Like, automatics are faster, they're better. And it's like, it's frustrating that people take the all-out performance numbers that they read in magazines so seriously and get, you know, really passionate about what's a good car and what's a bad car, or what's a fast car and what's a slow car. And it's what I find ironic about it is like, well, hang on a second, how many of you people are actually buying these cars? And then beyond that, how many people that own these cars are capable of driving them at a level where any of this stuff makes a difference?
Completely agree with you. I will say, I'll clarify what I said about the air conditioning and the radio. If we're talking about an E30 weekend car, like, I'm with you. You know what I mean?
Right.
In the case of McLaren, we are talking about a $300,000 car that, for which, for, like you said, 90% of the drive, maybe Randy Popst or better. I mean,
you're talking like 90,
right? The top guy, maybe that guy who really wants this as a track day car and really gives a shit should delete the AC.
Yeah.
Other than that, AC delete is for Motor Trend to put the car on a scale and get 2980.
Right.
And everyone else who's actually shopping should just get the air conditioning, because if you're spending $300,000, don't torture yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's a big part of it too. Is like, look, I just paid $1 million for a car. Like, it better have AC. And it better not affect my driving experience at all.
Yeah. So that's my philosophy, and it's the same as a radio. Do I want to put a fucking 212s and a 1,000-watt MTX in the trunk? Like, nah. But, like, would I like some music and a podcast on my road trip and some Bluetooth? Like, yeah, please.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Even my 911, I have Bluetooth. I have a 6-speaker stereo, air conditioning and heat. I have a sunroof. It's great.
Yeah. When did this, I think it's like a marketing thing, really start with the offering of cars without AC that you could delete it? Like, I remember the Z28 was a big deal. Was that a thing in the 90s? Or
AC was an option for a really long time.
Yeah. But I'm saying when it became this thing of saying, you can get this performance car without AC. You know, you can click delete instead of clicking add.
In the modern era, I can think of the Z28 Camaro, the McLaren LTs, the Cayman GT4, I believe, was offered without AC, and I think maybe the GT3 RS is offered without AC as an option.
Because the Cobra R didn't come with it, right? That was like early 2000s.
Yeah, but I think at that time, the Cobra R did not. No, that's correct. Maybe the Cobra R.
I wonder if that's. And I don't know. Like, I wonder what started this idea.
Standard on AC was standard on Mustangs in 2000. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, right.
I feel like they had it figured out by then.
I don't know when was the last Ford you could get without air conditioning standard. I don't even. I don't know. I don't know. But either way, I think it's pretty rare thing. I wouldn't fucking bother with AC delete.
Yeah, my 911 AC wasn't working that well, and so I just took it all out.
A 30-year-old car, whatever. I had mine overhauled, and it actually works really good.
Yeah, I've been told I can spend about $1,000 and have fantastic AC in that car.
I frankly don't use it much. I really use it on like highway trips and stuff, and it is nice for that. It really is.
I feel like if I was stuck on the 405, I'd be too busy looking at my oil temperature climbing, and I'd just be like, okay, I'm going to turn the AC off here and.
I did that with my Miata because it just when I hit the AC button it would like squeal and the whole car would like the lights would dim. I go, I don't think it wants to do this.
Yeah. When I had my JCW Mini, I had an 06 JCW Mini, and when I turned the air conditioning on in that car, it fucking like killed the car. Like, I don't mean to shut it down, but like it sucked the life right out of the car, and I was so concerned that I put it on a dyno, and I lost 36 wheel horsepower with the air conditioning.
Wow. Well, the thing is,
this is a 200 horsepower car.
The thing is, it might be though that every AC unit is drawing 30 horsepower, but if you've got a car with 300 horsepower, then 30 isn't as noticeable as if you're driving a car that's got 80 horsepower and you've basically lost. I think
when you've got because you're on because the Mini specifically was a tiny. It was I think it was a 1.6, but it might have been a 1.8, which was so dependent on supercharger boost. When you've got another thing drawing on that pulley, yeah. We got some questions from the people. Oh, we got a few. All right, cool. Get your questions in now because we're going to cut it off because we got fucking shit to do. No, I'm just kidding. But Hannah's coming home from San Francisco tonight. My favorite thing to do with McLaren's is awkwardly pick up Hannah at the airport. She was so annoyed when I picked her up in the 720 a couple weeks ago.
Just honk when you pull up and just wave aggressively.
Yeah. I wear totally like sweatpants and flip-flops. I look like a total Silicon Valley douche.
Totally over the boss factor of showing up in a car like that.
She doesn't give a shit.
Yeah,
she doesn't care about the cars except what makes me happy.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. She likes the Countach. I'm happy about that because the guy who I bought it from, Dave, his wife fucking hated it.
My wife hates it.
Really? Yeah, and he keeps texting me like congratulations. He's like, congratulations, you're married now, which makes me happy because now that she's your wife, she's gonna make you sell that car in 2 years. Send it back to me. I can't wait to sell it to him for double what I paid.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, when you were talking about you were shopping for a car and that she's kind of into this, you weren't going to talk about what the car is. Yeah. But what I wanted to say is jump on that right now.
Yeah.
Because these windows with wives, they kind of open and then they close.
That's funny.
And what you learn is...
How many wives do you have, by the way?
Just the one.
Okay.
But you learn a lot real quick. And yeah, what I found is windows open and close, and when they open, you gotta really get in there.
Yeah,
and then
we're going. I spoke to the homie. We're gonna go check it out on Saturday, so we'll see. But cool. I think I don't know your wife, but I think I'm very lucky, and I have a particularly chill wife, and also a particularly my wife likes to be like she likes to like have a thing. Like she likes when everybody wears a themed t-shirt and she likes when it's a costume party, or she likes a shticky kind of jokey thing. And so for her to drive a car that like works normally but is different from what other people are driving, like she had the only red Volvo V60 Polestar that we saw for the entire 39-month of lease that she had, and like she was proud of that. She's like, I have the only red one of these in LA.
Yeah, most people that buy Volvos don't buy red, I would say.
Yeah,
like,
they don't buy the giant motor, and they don't buy red.
Volvo does have a really nice red.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, you see it on like old S60s. Every once in a while, you see an old S60 in red, and it's like, damn, that car looks great.
It's that red, the V60 wagon in the red. And what's great about that red is it's the kind of color that always always looks like it just came from the dealership,
Yeah.
brand new, which meant that we got through the entire 39-month lease having never put a license plate on the car.
Wow.
Full pull, my friends. A full pull.
She must be quite a conservative driver.
Yeah. I called her on this show. I called her driving perfectly adequate, and she got a T-shirt made that says "perfectly adequate."
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
she knows
that's funny.
I don't live fucking nothing down.
Nope.
Not a thing.
Nope. It was in the wedding ceremony.
That's why she needs to get this car and have her have a thing that I get. Remember when you?
Heck, she needs to say something to you. I'm sure there's plenty, and then you need to make it into a shirt.
The most important thing about this car purchase is that if it is successful and we like the car and it works for our needs, the most important thing is that she actually pay for it because it's her car and not because, like, right now she's driving the Mercedes, which is my car, but like
you're still talking like an unmarried man.
I know. It's our money.
Yeah.
Pay up.
And she has a really good job.
And she makes a lot more money than me.
Right.
Oof. Let's see. The regular 96 says, are gated shifters as magical as all the automotive journalists make them out to be? I've never driven a car with one, so I can't say. I think part of the reason I think manuals are dying out because autos now get better economy. Thoughts? Part 1, yes, a gated shifter is quite lovely.
I've never had the opportunity to drive one.
Fuck out of here. Never?
No, never.
Oh,
It really is. There's like it's a subtle sensation through your hand, but there is like the click you hear, and it just feels nice.
Yeah.
Feels nice.
It's
Sounds
very nice.
People don't toss me the keys to their Ferraris very often.
They should.
So
You're the president of the Manual Gearbox Preservation Society.
Yeah.
You know who will set you up with that? I shit you not, is fucking Haggerty. Haggerty would be all over your nuts.
I've been talking to Haggerty a little bit because they
go up to Traverse City, drive all their shit.
They do a lot of really good stuff, getting young people in manual cars for their first time, which is really cool, and it's something that I wish that we were able to do. So I've been talking to them like, hey, how can we kind of get involved or help you guys do this? Because that's the thing that I'm most passionate about with Team GPS is like you hear a lot of people being like, oh, kids don't care about cars, nobody knows how to drive a manual anymore. It's like, yeah, but the reason that they don't know how to drive a manual is because their parents didn't have one on the driveway. Like, what was the opportunity? Like, I learned to drive a manual because my dad happened to have a Miata.
Yeah.
And my mom taught me that was the car I learned to drive in. And so it was, I was fortunate in that situation that there was a car available for me to learn on. And so I did. And then I think, you've got a lot of people out there that are just ultra passionate about cars and they'll find a way to get into one. But for the average teenager, they're not going to have a chance to learn how to drive a manual unless they, and the prospect of
and the chances will go down as the sales of manuals go down also, because it's just like you said, it's what's out there now.
And you're not going to be like, oh, I really want a manual, but I've never driven one, so I got to go buy one and then just drive it home. Like, that is a pretty daunting experience, I would imagine. I can't imagine.
I'm surprised someone hasn't in the gig economy of ours just set up like a one-man stick shift driving school here in LA. Has someone done that
I
yet?
see this Mustang that's pretty liveried up in my neighborhood all the time, and I'm assuming that that's kind of what he's doing. Not dedicated to driving stick, but I think it's a driving school that's like a little bit better and like teaches actual, rather than just purely learning like this is how you make a car move and don't break the law with it. It gets a little bit maybe a little bit deeper into how to actually drive a
dynamics,
car.
Well, the person who asked the question, his donation came in euros, and so I think I'm going to throw this out there that I think the past popularity of manuals were super popular in Europe compared to America, and now in Europe the automatic has caught up, and I think that for a lot of the average everyday people, the manual, when you were talking about a 5-speed manual versus a 3-speed automatic, the manual got better fuel economy, you had more control, etc., etc. Now computer controls, the autos get just as good as economy, if not better, in the manuals. So in Europe, yes, the shift is happening much faster than here. In America, manuals have really been for enthusiasts for 2 decades at this point.
You've also got like 8 and 9 speed automatic transmissions anymore, and just nobody wants to pull through 8 or 9 gears on
Well,
a
now that
regular
we've
basis
tried the
in a manual.
7-speed and decided it's not good,
Right.
you know what I mean? That's pretty much that's the efficiency with quote only 6 gears is gonna become an issue. You know.
Yeah.
James says, let's see, Mercedes AMG GLA 45 versus the Ford Focus RS, which is better overall for everyday use, road trips, track days, reliability, etc. So the GLA 45 is the hatchback version of the CLA 45 or A45. It's slightly lifted. I like the GLA 45 the best of the 45 series because it's like a little rally car. I think that's super fun. It's got some more suspension travel. You can mob curbs and like uneven canyons really fast, whereas like the CLA is very bouncy and hoppy. The GLA has some give to it. The Focus RS is really stiff and bumpy.
Yeah. More of a tarmac rally car.
Well, but really too stiff actually. And so for everyday use, road trips, track days, I would say, Focus for track days probably, but for the other two, the GLA is probably better.
Are those cars even comparable price wise though?
A used GLA and a less used Focus RS. The fucking GLAs sank like rocks the second they were. So like they were like in the 50s new, and they're like 25. They're cheap.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're shockingly cheap. Now reliability, no fucking clue. I mean, my Focus was fine. Mine was fine.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
that's a hard thing to comment.
Yeah,
on.
I don't know about that. You got to Consumer Reports that shit. I don't know, but the GLA was pretty fun actually. That engine is manic as fuck.
Is it better? I drove it like years ago, and I did not like the transmission, and I don't like the way it looks. But I
agree on both counts.
Okay, but I haven't driven I haven't driven the new suspension, so it may have offered. And the interior is certainly better than the Focus was.
Yeah,
for like a drive around road trip, like you want to be in a nice environment. You know, it's gonna beat that.
Yeah. Test drive both. The Focus is really stiff. If the roads you live on and drive on are rough, you're gonna not be happy. If the roads are really smooth, you'll be okay.
I don't fit in the Focus RS seats.
They're very tight.
It's like my back doesn't even touch the backrest. The bolsters are just like
those break in, kinda.
Okay.
The problem I had with the Focus RS is if you lower the seat, the back, the front stops lowering and the back lowers more, so it kicks your thighs up. It really caused me some problems, hip flexors and shit.
I was bummed when I got one. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, I should have not. I should have driven mine around the block and then said no. Yeah, but I didn't.
I did hear the seats kind of break in, but.
They do, but the Fiesta ST seats break in way better.
Okay.
It took like probably 3,000 miles. It took a while.
Yeah,
It's a while. All right, what's this guy's name? Law Gregory says, looking for a car recommendation, $10,000. Fun daily driver, rear-wheel drive preferred, college student in Boston. Snow.
Rear-wheel drive cars in the snow are fun. Come on.
No, you put snow tires on them. I bet they're a ton of fun.
Yeah. Shit. I mean, 10K is both a lot and not a lot. You know what I mean? It's
a lot of Mustang or a lot of Camaro.
It's a reasonable amount of Mustang and Camaro.
But it's older Mustang.
It's also a reasonable amount of E46 non-M. It's a decent 330 BMW with a manual, which would be probably pretty nice.
Or like you could even go sedan if you want to with a manual. Also going to be way cheaper.
Bunch of Hyundai Genesis Coupe, second gen.
Yeah.
2013 Genesis Coupe I would fuck
Those
with
are
there.
really fun other than the steering feel.
Get you a pretty nice G37, right?
350Z all day.
You know, a Z
both of those totally affordable.
A couple basic mods is not bad.
A G37 is a car you could own if you kept it really clean, like for a number of years, and it cleans up well, and it's like a comfortable GT car.
If you were driving a really clean 2005 G35 right now, like it wouldn't be out of place or weird. Like that car still looks pretty good, I think.
I remember the ergonomics being very good.
Pretty pure design. It's
clean.
It's not gonna look old anytime.
G35 has aged pretty well.
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah,
they're just nice and clean.
I drove one that fucking someone put twin turbos on, and I got a zillion views. It was crazy. I don't know what happened. I hope that helps. Ollie Gaming says, I'm planning on picking up a manual transmission Chevy SS. Is it worth putting the money into a full NA build or go Pro Charger and cam route?
Yikes.
My goal would be 600 to 650 wheel.
Well, define worth the money. Like, are you hoping to get the money back? Because then it's better to probably go Pro Charger, which will be cheaper than, like, I don't know, how much are like heads, cams, exhaust, all those things on an LS engine or on the Chevy
more
engine?
than most people think. Most people think they see a set of heads, for $1,800 in the back of a Summit, and they go, heads are $1,800, and then it's like $1,500 in labor, and then you got to break them in and then adjust the valves. And,
and I don't know about you, but on your rebuild, but just the sheer quantity of fasteners, you're like, oh man, like no wonder this is so expensive. Not only am I paying for all those, but I got to pay a guy to fasten them all down.
Yeah, all the head studs, all the things. I mean, supercharging has gotten so good now with direct injection and everything. You could bolt on that. You could bolt something on and be probably close to you probably be close to 600 at the crank very quickly.
Yeah.
And for, pretty basic bolt-on entry point.
So here's the thing. To me, like, every time I've put a cam in a street car, I've regretted it. Like, that, like, that's fun for like 8 seconds. Like, that's not actually... Like, I'm projecting. Maybe this dude wants to turn his Chevy SS into a fucking total hot rod, and I'm just missing the mark. And if so, God bless. Put a giant fucking cam in it and have fun. But like, to me, if you're gonna take a Chevy SS manual and mod it, what I would do is get one of those Magnuson roots blowers for $6,500, plop it on, and good night and good luck. You got 550 at the crank, maybe high fours at the wheels on pump gas. It's quiet, and that car will go like a motherfucker.
Yeah, because if you decide you got to take it off, it's not that
right.
big of
You
a
can take
deal
it off and
either.
sell the car.
And you don't have a super lumpy idle. Your NVH isn't like completely fucked.
Because 600 to 650 wheel NA is going to be expensive and require
that's
a lot
like
of
a
parts.
fucking
That's
Vengeance
serious.
Racing motor.
Yeah. you're gonna need forced induction for sure.
Yeah. That's my advice. Robert Hopp says, congrats on the wedding. Any updates on what shuttle car for the building? Thaddeus is going to begin looking on Dubizzle for me. We're looking at Mercedes limousines from the 80s. But fucking,
is this like a pickup car from LAX?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but please, look, I beg for those of you out there, I beg you.
Princess Diana.
Do not send me links. I talked about this before, and like 100 people sent me links to shit on Craigslist. Like, I don't need suggestions. Vinny has the Craigslist Roamer app that we crawl all the Craigslists. We have Auto Tempest, and then Thad's got the Dubai thing. Don't flood me with links. I got this. We'll figure it out. We still got, like, the building's not even gonna be open until September, so like we got time to find a car. If I find a car now, like, it's just a waste of 6 months and annoyance.
Where you can park it?
Park it somewhere.
Yeah, Jordan says, 6MT Hoarder here. All right, good for you. Can Alan shed any light on the new trend of belly tank exhausts? I think my M2 comp is sexy looking, but I'm extremely embarrassed of its cow udder ass end. What the fuck is a belly tank exhaust?
It looks really weird. I know
There's
what he's
a lot
talking
going
about.
on in that question that I just don't even know.
I know exactly what he means because
what is a belly tank?
When I drove that guy's M2 competition for a one take, went around the back and you look at it and it seems like the muffler is hanging down lower than it should be. It's like, why is this falling down? So if you look at it from the back and you kneel down a little bit, it looks like it's got this big metal like belly. And what we think is if you look above it, there's a lot of empty space, like another muffler's worth of empty space. And his thought was that's where extra emissions equipment will go in Europe.
Oh,
it looks like a packaging thing.
There's all kinds of stuff that could be causing that.
Because there's no other explanation for why this thing is hanging down so far. That's got a Kropovich on it. I'll try to find a photo, but when you see it, you can't unsee it. I was like, you should paint this black. You should get it, like
you know what else happened with the M2? The M2, so I got it as a press car, or we got it as a press car together, right? Weren't we together with that car? Grid Life? Weren't you there? Was that the
That was the M3.
Okay, so I had it as a press car, and people started asking me about the seat angle. The seat is canted a little bit towards the outside of the vehicle, or the entire rest of the vehicle draws in, except the seat.
Weird.
And I didn't notice it until someone said some shit, and then I got back in the car and went, fuck. And that was the end of that.
Can you
And
just put your
look
wallet
at
in the other
that.
pocket?
Is that really it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That looks like dog shit. Is that real?
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Ugh,
This is-
to describe that as a belly
Fortunate.
tank is really spot on.
Yeah, and so I got down on the ground when I shot that video and looked up, and there was a huge empty space, like very big, seriously, the size of that muffler, empty space from the top of the muffler to the body of the car.
Wow.
And I can't remember what he said, but I
So
think...
do basically all aftermarket exhausts for this car eliminate that into something that fucking looks better?
Probably. That's what it looked
That
like,
looks
that a crop
shit.
of it.
Does that car have an optional spare tire? Is the spare tire meant to go in that space that you're talking about?
Well, no, because the tire... Because to put a tire up there, the tire has to be above the muffler. Like when you open the trunk, it's not that the space was recessed from like the top down.
Okay.
So it was.
If you pull up the trunk carpet, there's not like a compartment. Oh no, obviously because you would see.
You would see the
space for
recess,
that.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously. I know that there's not a designer at BMW that would have it that way if they could have it any other way. So there's definitely going to be a technical reason why it is the way it is. At the very least, I would paint that black with some like barbecue paint.
Totally.
Yeah, right.
Definitely
Flex
should do
seal
that.
that bitch. What else we got? Let's see. Antoine says, I'm looking for a second car that can handle like a Miata but is more comfortable for $10,000. Looking at a 350Z. Any other ideas? This is basically the same question as the previous person asked. I'm not going to dwell on it. The things that we just mentioned.
Can you get like a BRZ or something like that for $10K?
That would be
Probably
at the
a
low
fucked up
end.
BRZ.
It might
Salvage
be.
title.
It might be pretty rough.
I'm terrible with car values, so
It might be pretty
No,
rough.
they're still a little above that. I think, Mustang, Camaro, 350Zs. 350Z, great suggestion.
You know, honestly, an E30 is, I know they're getting expensive now. Maybe like an E36 or a cheap E46 BMW. Maybe. I mean, I hesitate to recommend this, but you might even be into a Boxster.
Whoa,
I mean, the
at
maintenance
10 grand?
costs are hot. Yeah, you can get into a Boxster. It'll be a pretty fucking rough one. Or a 944. A 944 is like a more comfortable Miata if we're talking about literal space and comfort.
Yeah. It's
Or 10 grand. Will 10 grand get you into a C4 Corvette? Maybe.
C4?
For 10 Gs, you might be able to
Probably.
get into a pretty decent C4 Corvette.
Whoa.
That's where I'd start. Spencer says, what actions are you taking to preserve the manual transmission?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, and the answer is at the moment nothing. But no, I think what
Zach.
we
Thank you.
I think a big part of it is like this whole thing, it started out, it was a fake t-shirt or a t-shirt for a fake club. It was a real t-shirt. And then people started buying it, and then people started following the page, and I never set out to like, I'm the last person that's like wants to be the president of a club. Like I don't want to.
It's like I made a shirt for like preserve democracy,
really-
and someone's
it
like, "What are you
seems-
doing?"
it
I was
seems
like,
like
"I'm
running for
shit.
president."
No, I just made the shirt.
It seems like giving speeches is totally your thing.
No, it's like it's like being on this rate. Like you don't even know how much beer I drank before I got here.
Oh no.
No, I'm kidding, but it's a good question because I think that something needs to happen, but
And someone should do something.
and someone should do something, and it's starting to look like, well, shit, maybe I'm meant to be that guy, and I need to sack up and do it. And that's
Well, look,
something
you
that
could join up with Alex Roy and his Human Driving Association because he's fucking serious.
and he's very right to be serious, and I think that what he's talking about, and I actually just read last night that he's actually like really aiming for like a full-blown constitutional amendment.
Yeah, well, that's a long-term goal, but yes, he's legitimately trying to get involved in government, which I think is both crazy and I'm 100% on board.
Yeah, because if you really look at where the technology is going, and the last thing I was working on before I stopped being a car designer was autonomous cars, and they're going to happen. And the entire business model of car ownership is going to completely change for a lot, if not the vast majority of people. You're always going to have people out there that live in the sticks and they're going to drive cars, but for so many people, the ownership and the experience of owning a car, driving a car, maintaining a car, storing a car, parking a car, they don't get anything out of that. They don't care about that car. And so they're going to eventually, their robots will replace the drivers in a product like Uber or Lyft. And for most people, that service will be so cheap and so available and so convenient that the concept of owning a car will be ridiculous.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of our country is remote enough that
so there's going to be outliers. The problem there,
I think there's going to be geofences is what's going to happen, and it's
that's
going to be like
a step.
Fucking Judge Dredd with the cities and then the fucking desert wasteland.
That'll be a step, but the other problem, and this is the exact same problem that manuals face, is that making a car, especially a modern car by today's standards, is extremely expensive, and you see that the way that car companies struggle. And the only way by today's methodology to make a profitable car is to make a ton of them. Hundreds of thousands. You have to justify building a car, you have to be able to say, I can sell hundreds of thousands of these in most cases. So what's going to happen is as the desire for an owned car goes away, that problem just gets increasingly difficult. So you're going to have these outlier products, like all the super rich guys are going to be able to afford their McLarens because McLarens are designed and built in a way that doesn't require selling 100,000 of them to be a profitable company. But for all the other guys, they're basically like, okay, so, we can make like $150 on a Chrysler 200, so let's just get out of that business. So you start to see, you're seeing it already where all these D-segment sedan cars are just going away.
Yeah.
And
being replaced by the more profitable crossover. Yeah.
Because that's the popular car. They can build it and sell it in higher volume. They can amortize the cost of the tooling. I mean, people, what you have to understand is like when you, and this gets into what Divergent's doing, when you say I'm gonna make this car, you're putting like anywhere between, let's say, like $1.5 and $3 billion on the table. Like we're gonna make this investment, and then we're gonna make it back plus some, so that we can pay all these people, and then when that fails, like it's a complete disaster. Yeah, and it happens all the time. Yeah, and.
Whatever happened to the Hyundai Azera? Exactly. Remember we went on the launch for that car and then never saw a fucking single one of them on the road?
Yeah.
Or like you see something
anyone
like...
wants to buy a car that big and that expensive will just get a Mercedes. Yeah. Same with like the Avalon, right?
Yeah.
And the frustrating thing too, as a designer, you're like sitting in the studio and you got this really cool idea and you start trying to sell it and there's like absolutely no way. And then all of a sudden you see
that's gotta hurt so bad.
Well, no, but
then you see someone else.
You see a convertible Nissan Murano, and it's like, are you kidding me?
You get the fuck
like his headphones fell off.
Zach was so excited his headphones flew off.
No, it's
so,
like
and then a convertible Evoque.
Exactly. And
saw
it's like,
saw two in a row.
Are ultra expensive to make.
You know who drives one? Nanette. There's this girl who lives on our street who's a swimwear designer. And who's also like a swimwear model.
Oh, wow.
And she is just a smoke show. And Hannah is already kind of hates her just because of how hot she is. She's the sweetest girl you've ever met. But Hannah is like, she's too pretty. We can't. And then Hannah really hates the Evoque convertibles. And then Nanette drove by and one like, look at my new car. And Hannah was like, oh, kill me.
I saw a white Evoque convertible two days in a row. Once at dinner, I just looked out the window and I stopped the conversation I was in. The second one was driven by a dude. He got out with like a snapback backwards, just full Los Angeles douche wearing sweatpants.
You know what? I kind of want to fucking dress like the lead in an '80s movie, and then drive around in a Evoque convertible.
Yeah.
That's what
Or
he
just
looked like.
Reenact Zoolander.
He looked
gas
like-
station.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
He looked like cool high school asshole 2,
Right.
in whatever rival movie
Like
is happening.
remember Freddie Prinze Jr. with the Defender in was it 10 Things I Hate About You or one of those? No.
I remember he was in it. That's
that-
what I remember.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that was it. Anyway.
So anyway, I don't want to. I want to answer this. I want to answer this question because it's important. And,
Hold on.
And
We're talking about Freddie Prinze Jr. and what car he
Listen,
drove.
we have
okay?
important
Listen, Alan.
decisions.
no. So what Alex is doing, I think, is important because that's like the right to drive or the right to operate a piece of machinery. Like you could kind of be like, yeah, that's important. The thing with manuals is like it's basically a free market business thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, especially with new cars, because what Alex, I think, is pointing out is like, what happens? I mean, I read this week, LA is saying they're going to be putting a complete ban on internal combustion engines in LA by 2050. So my question there is
these fucking people, of course they can say that because it's 2019.
No, but in Paris is going to ban them way sooner.
Yeah, but they've been fucking pumping diesel into the air for 50 years.
None of that matters. It's all about this is what we're going to do to go forward, right? So anyway, and there's so much to argue about on all this, but the reality is it's like what happens. So all the cars get banned. What does that mean? Can I drive my 911 up on Angeles Crest still? Can I drive it only on a track? Am I not even allowed to drive it on a track? It's like, how far does this all go? And at some point, this is where
I don't think it goes that far.
I hope not. And
I just don't.
and
I don't think anyone cares that much to fucking twist the knife at old sports car owners. I think it's such a small segment of people.
I don't think that they think about old sports car owners.
But I think that there's enough of it. Like, well, okay, if they don't think about old sports car owners, I think in general to say you cannot operate an older car provides an unfair burden on anyone who owns a car but cannot afford to buy a new one.
Right. But then
And that's
the
why I don't
ownership equation is going to be gone soon. So that's...
I don't think so. I think there are enough people who want to own their own car. Like, I will never, as long as I live, send my fucking personal vehicle out to be a taxi. Never.
No, I mean,
And I will never
That
not
idea-
own a personal vehicle.
Yeah.
Never.
well, and you're a car guy, right?
Yeah.
Through and through. So
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
But even if I wasn't, my own personal freedom depends on me owning that car.
Right. And that's where I think you kind of get into that whole constitutional amendment thing that he's going after. But it's all still a little bit besides the point. At the end of the day with manuals, they're going to continue to be marginalized to the point where you're basically going to have a handful of niche enthusiast vehicles that still offer them. I think the car companies have really hurt the situation by making it, and I think that they've pushed a lot of enthusiasts to the used market, because rather than selling like a nice trim level with a manual, they kind of tend to put the manuals at the bottom trim levels. So it's like, wait a minute, I'm a car guy. I'm in the car. I'm ready to spend money on my car, but I want a manual. And now I have to buy a base model.
Well, is that because they can't homologate the bigger engines with the gearbox that only has 6 speeds instead of?
No, it's just plant sequencing. It's just a matter. I mean, like, okay, so you see a company like BMW's saying, well, we're not putting manuals in our cars because we can't find a supplier who makes a transmission that can handle our output at the quality level that we expect, which I don't find that super convincing, because you've got a Tremec in your
I would
Vanquish.
be extremely annoyed if you sold me a brand new BMW with a fucking Tremec in it.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
I
So
would
there you
be
go.
furious
Right.
if
So
a
there you go.
BMW at that price point shifted like a Corvette.
Right. So that's their...
I'll take it in a Vanquish
Yeah.
because my other option is a fucking drunk robot.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? My Vanquish shifts like a Viper,
Yeah.
which is better than the alternative.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I'd be happy if I spent
Yeah.
brand new money on that.
So there you go.
car.
They're totally justified in that line of thinking. But so the reality is, it's like they're going to continue to become more niche and more marginalized. And I don't know, like, because it's a capitalism thing, because it's a free market thing, it's like, I don't know how you, other than just recommending.
I mean, can you just create advocacy for people ordering manual gearboxes instead of just accepting to buy an automatic off the lot?
That's kind of what I feel like I'm doing. You know, we've built this community, close to 100,000 people. That doesn't happen on accident. There's considerable effort that goes into, I mean, more than that. It's like...
Yeah. I think we're going to really see what's going to happen in like the next 40 years, because I think right now... Porsche proved it, where they went, okay, a lot of people ask for manuals in cars, so they now make a special edition of a car they sell for a lot more money than the other car that they made, because they know it. They know how big the market is, and they know that the market is larger than what they'll produce, so there's always going to be a premium on those cars. Mm-hmm. And because they know right now there are people like you, me, Matt, who have grown up around manual transmissions and driven them. But if you take a kid who's like 5, and his parents could be car people, but his parents could be like, I love my DCT. There are people in the comments that are like, I really like my dual clutch. They grew up learning that their dual clutch is the best thing that they can drive. You keep your hands on the wheel, et cetera, race car driver. Okay, 50 years from now, what is that person going to be asking for? Maybe everything's gone electric, and those are people who are fighting for
paddles
and internal combustion engines on the small scale. Yeah. But I think, how many people want to go buy a horse? Less than probably did 50 years ago. And so I think it's just gonna change. It sucks for us, but it's gonna fucking happen.
Super rich, dude. People who breed horses.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. If they breed
horses are fucking so rich.
Well, you can buy a horse for I think a few $1,000s just to ride, or it can cost $1 million for a bucket of semen. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's true.
No, yeah,
100%.
Dude, I photographed a horse farm when I was doing architecture photography back in the day. $250,000 a load, bro. My horse fucks your horse, blows one load. That's $250,000.
Because it used to win races, right?
Because it won some fucking.
It's the most
shit
amazing
at some
business
point.
I've ever heard of.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Horse pimping.
You should have seen
really.
the fucking horse fucking room. The horse fucking, they had a fucking a padded octagon with one of those fucking gymnast fucking horses, and they would, it was crazy shit down there in fucking Lexington, Kentucky. Shit got wild with them horses.
What was the safety word?
The fucking safety word was,
oh my god.
Horses are important they're an important analogy to look at, though, because the presentation that I saw that really freaked me out about autonomous cars is there's a Spanish guy, his name's Tony Seba, and I think going back 2 or 3 years, he was given this lecture about the convergence of 3 different technologies that are going to lead to autonomous transportation as a service. And he starts the presentation out with this image of a street corner in New York, and it's a 10-year time span between the 2 photos. In the first photo, it's all horses. In the second photo, 10 years later, it's all cars. And his point is that these things happen really quickly, despite the fact that before they happen, there's a tremendous amount of outright rejection to the idea. Mm. And what the thing about technology and what people kind of miss a lot of the time is that people look at technology on a linear scale. So it advances at kind of a diagonal line. But the reality of a tech adoption is this insane exponential curve that starts out really slow. And if, in the case of electric cars, that slow part has been really slow because you have an oil industry that's dragged out that bottom part for a super long time. But at a certain point, it just goes crazy, and then it becomes ubiquitous. And so when that line gets to be vertical, you're at ubiquity.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you there. I mean, not in the concept, but I think that the point that that autonomous vehicles need to surpass is so ethically important, because a computer at that point has to make decisions that only the human brain is capable of making.
Life and death decisions.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's for me, because the thing that I hope doesn't upset the people.
And furthermore, people have to be okay with a computer making life and death decisions for them, and potentially valuing someone else's life over their own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think it's pretty clear
By the way, there's no full self-driving cars on the road today, and Elon Musk is lying about having one anytime in the future, for the record.
Right. What about the Waymo cars in Arizona?
I'm not talking about a development car.
They're running. That's a business.
I'm not talking about the little stupid geofence bullshit cars. I'm talking about a level 5 fucking car. I'm talking about your Model 3 becoming a robo-taxi and making money is a lie.
Yep. Today.
It is a lie anytime in the foreseeable future.
Sure.
It's certainly a lie today. 100% is it a lie today.
Yeah.
But using it to sell a car, implying that car will be a robo-taxi, is a 100% flagrant lie.
Yeah.
There's no science backing that up in any fucking way. Not a chance.
I don't know. Who
You're
knows?
talking about a Model 3 that you buy today is going to drive itself on the public road with no driver. Fuck, zero chance.
So
none.
There's a couple things.
There will be errors.
So
that's fucking errors.
So first of all, like my whole thing with that, with the progression is why not? Remember GM put out that really cool concept that was basically just a flatbed truck with no cab.
No. Okay. No, I don't. But sure.
Put GM autonomous truck concept or something. So if you take one whole half of the human life equation out of it, now the computer doesn't need to make a life and death decision, right? It's basically like, oh shit, there's an accident about to happen. There's humans around. I'm going to drive off this cliff so I don't kill anybody. So this is what I see as being a transitional step where you're going to have these autonomous delivery vehicles and, maybe
so no human passengers.
Human passengers. So you take half the human life equation out of the problem.
That's interesting.
And now all of a sudden you don't necessarily need to own a pickup truck anymore because the 4 times a year that you want to actually use the bed, you're just going to get one of these for, $1 an hour or something.
I think you make a very interesting point. A counterpoint for now would be if this car is in traffic and it's driving in traffic and suddenly there's like a person jumps out, like a bicyclist jumps out from behind one car and a pedestrian jumps out from the other car, like and now maybe a human being wouldn't be able to solve that problem. Like you're going to hit one of the people, you know. I mean, maybe the best thing to do is slam into the parked cars next to you. That slows you down or something like that. And if maybe they can figure out that programming, but I think we're just going to have a weird period where accidents will happen and then people will be sued because human beings will say, "What did the computer do this correctly?"
It's definitely a major philosophical conundrum, but
you know what bothers me about all this fucking bullshit? It's the same thing that I've just been fucking debating people on Twitter with. It's that this is a fucking expensive fix for a cheap problem. The problem is American drivers are shit. We could train them better.
Yeah, but
they could be German drivers.
It's not just about the driving though. Like think about it. Think about how many people are driving a car on the 405 that is probably 4 times bigger than it needs to be, and it's the size it is because they want it to serve a whole bunch of different purposes and they want it to have a certain image. And if they really did just want to get to work that day, how much smaller could that car be? And then if you think about, when you talk about money, it's like, think about how much land equity is spent on parking cars all day. And the fact that most people have, let's say a fifth of their home is dedicated to storing this device that they don't really care about, but it's just what they need to get to work every day. So
that's true. No, that's a good point.
There's all this stuff that it's really hard for us car guys to like get your head around, because it's like, well, of course I would never want a robotic taxi every day because I'd rather spend the money on a cool car.
I mean, all you need is to be involved in one natural disaster to know that you don't want a fucking robot car. I mean, one hurricane, and that's the end. If you don't have a private car and a fucking hurricane's coming, you die. That's it. You fucking die.
And I think that's actually that's a huge part of our country's psyche that's very important and also overlooked. Because yes, you can talk about the equity, you can talk about the safety and everything, but like to the pickup truck thing, right? I put up this review yesterday of a truck, and I was like, people need to think more about what they want in a truck because there's really good solutions that aren't hardcore off-roaders.
They're called the Honda Ridgeline.
Honda Ridgeline, the new Ranger, or even maybe you just rent a truck once a year for $20 from U-Haul and you buy something else.
Yeah.
But we, as a culture, we like to have space. We like to have the biggest house we can. We have a yard. We like to have guns. We like to have cars. We like to have control over our domain.
And some people
it's
are
definitely
just
a cultural thing.
Some people are just truck people, and they want.
Some people are truck people, but I think just
and
us
it
in
doesn't
general,
matter.
we put alarm systems up. We like to have these backup systems. We like to know where. I think deep in our subconscious or conscious, we will like to know where our car is, and that it's our car, and that we have control over it. And it'll take a lot longer for that to go away for the entire population than it will for like the 20% who have now moved to using Lyft instead of owning a car. They're out there, but they're definitely a smaller percentage.
And it's totally a generational thing. But I mean, I think one of the I'm so bad at remembering statistics, but like I think that like
the number's 12.
I
don't know.
I mean, isn't like driving teenagers going out to get their driver's license is a statistic that's like plummeting.
Of course it is. Yeah, you don't need to. You take a Lyft, Uber.
They don't care about.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not thinking about a hurricane.
You know, I keep hearing that statistic, and I don't buy that either. I think there are teenagers the urban environment is more popular, and people are
But teenagers just live where their parents live. So like that's
and I
across
think
the board, like suburbs and everything.
Well, all right, fine, but I also think they have less money. I think they can't afford cars.
Yeah, and their parents can't afford to buy them cars because cars are so expensive. And that's another part of the problem.
I think that's a point that's typically left out of the kids don't like driving argument.
I don't think it's kids that don't like driving. I think now there's a solution for kids that live, especially in an urban area, where you can go half a mile for $2 and you just do that. Now, if you lived out in a more rural, like farm community or something, yes, there's maybe Lyft, but it's going to cost you $15 every time you want to go to your friend's house. Like over time, it's cheaper to own a cheap Civic.
And America is kind of one of the greatest things about America is it's this sprawling place, and you can live in the middle of nowhere and have a great life. And so there's definitely going to be these outlier cases, but I think. My personal opinion is that autonomous transportation as a service is coming. It's coming a lot quicker than most people could even imagine.
See, I think it's going to take a lot longer than most people are trying to sell it to us. I think the average lifespan of a car is longer than it's ever been. And even if you banned...
That's all part of the whole thing, though, right? So the thing that's interesting right now about cars, especially electric cars, is because they have so much less moving pieces. The complexity of them and the service, the need for service is dramatically reduced, right? So you've got these taxi drivers with Teslas that are claiming they're doing like 500,000 miles.
You know, I just read a story that debunked that.
Oh,
that
really?
Said that actually Teslas cost a shitload of money to maintain, and it offsets all the savings from not buying gas.
Well, is that put it like, I'm not making a joke, like putting the accidents aside that people are having in those cars?
You know, it didn't mention accidents in the story, but it did say that companies bought fleets of Teslas, Model X's and S's, thinking that they would save all this money, but that other things have broken that weren't the same things that they, you know what I mean? Because they're cabs. Once they're out of warranty, they're out of fucking pocket. You know what I mean? You put 100,000 miles on a Tesla, a lot of those are out of warranty, you know, so I don't know.
The point's a little bit different.
Washed it all out. The Crown Vic is a cab.
Yeah,
that's
totally
the best cab, period.
The point's a little bit different, though, because what it's getting to is that, so now these cars are ultra durable, right? Let's say, you know, in a certain period of time, the average car is going to could be capable of doing 500,000 miles. Not that many people want to own a car long enough to get to that 500,000 miles. And then it starts to be that to get to that 500,000 miles that, say, the powertrain's capable of, the body, the upholstery, it's just completely falling apart, right?
Oh, so you just reuse it.
So a lot of the time scale happens because the average car only gets used, I can't remember if it's 4 or 8% of the day. So one person basically isn't capable of extracting the value out of that object because they're not using it enough to get to the mileage within the time span of the rest of the materials in the car.
Yeah,
So-
but that assumes the materials degrade because of time and not because of use. What about materials that degrade because of use, and you now have
so those are your
600
wear
asses
items.
in your fucking seat
Yeah, and that's all
over the
stuff-
same 3 years?
That stuff that's being, I mean, they're working on like, you know, fabrics that somehow clean themselves, and like these ultraviolet things that clean. I mean, these are all these are the real issues that they're trying to figure out. But the overall concept is that this vehicle is going to be capable of so much usage that one person will they not really be able to afford it because of all the technology that's in it, but also they'll never be able to extract the durability out of it. So you're basically going to get these things that will end up doing 500,000 miles over the course of like a year or 3 years, because they literally just don't stop moving unless they're being fueled or cleaned. And that's just the way. That's why, you know, if you look at like Lyft and Uber and why those companies are IPOing and why people are investing in them, because they're buying into this type of concept. And I don't have a
so
crystal ball.
shitty. This sounds like a fucking everyone takes cabs except no one has a job.
Well, if they don't have
What
a
you're
job,
describing is a culture of only cabs, except there are no cab drivers.
Yeah.
that's where.
Well, that's super shitty.
Yeah, it could be. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that this is what I think could happen.
Yeah. I don't think that's any time in the future. I don't think we're seeing a car on the road in public, sold to the public, without a human driving it, fucking for a long time.
How long do you think it'll take?
I think it's fucking 40 years. I think it's. I think
I
I'm gonna
think
be
it's faster than that, for
I think I'm
sure.
going to be old, without a human. A car that drives on public roads and can be sold without it. Who's insuring that?
The insurance
You're-
companies are going to get hurt really bad by
Good
this.
fucking luck. Who's picking up the tab for the car that drives itself and kills a baby? Good luck.
That's true, but I think if you went
So-
20 to 35 years,
Okay, so in
Like-
20 years, who's picking up the tab?
they'll find someone will find a way, because
We are in a liability culture, my friend. Until
we
someone
are.
goes,
Totally.
until these fucking retard Tesla fanatics go, I will insure a Model 3 that drives without me in it. Put your fucking money where your mouth is, you fucking
I
losers.
agree with you, but I think it's a chicken egg thing. Like the insurers will only do it once they one of them is stupid, or they have seen it in practice, a gazillion times for gazillion miles for 10 years, and then if they can figure out a way to make more money. And as we've seen with plenty of other industries, save a big piggy bank for the day that someone sues them, which will totally happen.
Yeah.
And they totally do that, asbestos, cigarettes, etc. They'll just do it. They'll go, okay, it's worked for 10 million test miles in public, with a person sitting there not doing anything. We'll take that gamble. We'll take this cut of what you pull in because you don't have to pay a driver anymore. Thank you, Uber. And then they'll insure it. And if it hits someone, they'll pay them.
The statistics on this stuff are really hard to care about, because at the end of the day, when you're talking about life and death and responsibility, you could look at all the statistics you want, and you're going to have a really hard time convincing people that that's true. But the reality is the statistics exist, and these robots, while they're in their infancy, are pretty good at not getting in accidents. So I don't know. I honestly think that within 10 years from now, a lot of people will be getting moved around autonomously. I think even sooner than that, you're going to be seeing quite a lot of goods being moved around autonomously. And it's really going to shock people how quickly it happens. And the insurance companies, to be honest, are going to be in trouble, because these things are going to crash a lot less than humans do. And so there's going to be a lot less people, a lot less individuals that need insurance. So you're going to have...
Well, if car ownership drops...
Exactly. You're going to have massive...
Just that alone affects
massive organizations with massive fleets of vehicles that are going to have insurance. But like the general population, that's just one other annoying thing about owning a car, is having insurance. Right? So when you start to look at from the customer perspective, like, wait a minute, you're telling me that for, it's like with like Netflix, it's like $20 a month, I can get all the movies I want, and I don't have to return them to Blockbuster anymore. I don't have to rewind them. Like, that sounds great. I'll take it. And for cars, it's going to be like, wait a minute, I don't have to buy this thing or lease it for $500 a month. I don't have to put fuel in it. I don't have to service it. I don't have to deal with like a shady salesman. I don't have to deal with a crappy mechanic. I don't have to deal with...
I can smell the income inequality widening from here.
Well,
Sure.
This is all
absolutely.
reality, man. But I think the thing is, the income inequality aspect of it is the rich people are going to get their McLarens in their track days. It's the young kids that just want to have the opportunity to drive a Miata around a corner fast that are going to miss out on all this stuff.
Yeah, it'll eventually fade away as like a forgotten time.
I mean, I can see a gradual integration of the culture. What I cannot see any time in my lifetime really is a ban on driving, because it just puts an unfair not because
totally
of enthusiasm, because it puts an unfair burden on anybody who can't afford this new very expensive thing.
Yes, I agree with that.
I just don't see that happening, and I'll bet 10 G's that Elon Musk ain't selling those fucking self-driving Model 3, period. Ain't
I feel like he's gonna get investigated by the SEC soon. He's just like saying so many things that just
retarded.
I think he's just come out of his second settlement, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Like last week.
Yeah.
He says way too much stuff on Twitter.
Yeah, he's fucking stupid.
Yeah, he definitely does for a publicly traded company, and it's really weird.
So anyway, anything else? Is anything else on here worth getting to before we call the game? There's just a lot.
There's like 4. We should do them.
All right, fine.
Debate them.
Is the 7-speed on the 911 and the Corvette that bad? No, it's not that it's that bad. It's just not as good as a 6-speed. It's not that like the Corvette and the 911 are terrible, but like there's a reason the Carreras have a 7-speed and the GT3 gets a 6-speed, because the 6-speed is better. Also, Carrera 991 bone stock versus Corvette Grand Sport, new for track days. Corvette Grand Sport.
Totally.
That's lovely on a racetrack. That's a fucking brilliantly balanced track car. Favorite beer? You got a favorite beer?
I'm a beer enthusiast, and I would say I don't have a favorite beer because there's just so many nowadays. Like you go to the
cars.
There's a
grocery
lot.
store, there's just like, I've been...
This is
I
good.
like. I like.
This is very nice.
Two-hearted ale.
I like. I really like IPAs.
Bells.
And there's just so many of them. And
I like Dogfish Head Midas Touch.
Yeah, that's a nice
Have
one.
you had that one?
Yeah.
It's like it glows gold. It's fucking rad.
That's a beauty.
I'll throw out Racer 5 before we go to the next question.
I'm going to shorten this guy's question. Is it technology too early to exclude some possible technique of rowing gears with an electric motor?
This one is one that I'm pretty interested in, but a lot of the electric car guys are like, just think it's the dumbest idea on earth. But I just feel like, I mean, there's some guys that put one.
EV West has a manual gearbox.
They've got a manual
car
Corvette out there.
Yeah.
There's the guys that just did that Bronco Resto mod. That's an electric car with a gearbox, and definitely in off-roading, I could imagine that being able to put it in a nice low gear, and have that extra travel in the throttle pedal, right? So that it's like, oh man, I'm not so good on throttle, so I can put it down a gear.
Dumb the throttle down.
Totally.
You're kind of dumbing it down. And
you don't want to hit a rock and have your foot go to the floor, and then suddenly the wheels are going 90 miles an hour.
Well, didn't GM just come out with this electric E-Rod motor thing that'll bolt onto any Tremec?
Oh,
GM just came out with an electric crate motor.
That sounds cool.
They demoed it in a Camaro. I think it ran 9s or 10s in a Camaro, and it's like an electric E-Rod
They
crate
sell it
motor.
Jegs.
Yeah, they sell it in jegs, and it bolts up to any of their gearboxes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you can do an electric hot rod,
And
which I think would be pretty rad. Actually,
you could probably like start it in 5th gear if you wanted to.
Well, John Ward, I was over at Icon today, and saying what's up to John Ward, and you know, he did that electric, I believe it was like a 49 Merc or a 51 Merc, 900 pounds of torque, fucking no biggie. Just did huge burnouts everywhere. The thing was great.
So the thing that I learned recently, and I don't know how much of a thing it is, but what I was reading was talking about how the clutch gets really weird, and it's almost like they need to be done. You know those transmissions that were in the one I know about is in the Tucker. It was basically like you had like a a gated shifter on the column.
Oh, a pre-selector.
Yeah, and a clutch,
pre-selector.
Right? So you would
yeah.
like select the gear, and then you would hit the clutch.
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
would then kind of do its thing.
Yeah, yeah. Like the clutch in out is what would actually change the gear.
Yeah.
Like so you would go from 1, you accelerate, and then you'd move it to 2 while accelerating, and then you'd be in 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
Actually, kind of neat. They're kind of fun to drive.
So what the article I was reading kind of made it seem like that, which also I was reading about the old like Type 35 Bugattis. It's a similar sort of thing where like the car, it's got so much torque, and the clutch pedal on that car apparently is like got like half an inch of travel.
The
period.
Bugatti 35, it's probably 2 inches.
Yeah,
it's
and it's
really
just like
short.
an on-off
yeah.
switch,
yeah.
and you just kind of like dump it, and the car goes.
Pretty
and,
much, yeah. It's about right. I drove one. It was cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
It has a reverse H pattern. So
yeah, it's on the outside of the car too.
Yeah, so but first is where second normally is, and then second is where first normally is, and then third is where fourth normally is. So it's
Where did you get to drive one of those?
Persang. It was an exact replica. They're right here.
Oh, okay.
John Bothwell,
that was
Costa
the
Mesa.
car I was reading about. It's the They're built in
Argentina.
Argentina.
Yeah. That's the dude who brought the Model T off-roading with us.
Nice.
Yeah, that dude rules. Anyway, yes, you can get an electric motor with a manual gearbox,
people
although,
are doing it. A lot of people say it doesn't make any sense. I don't know the answer, but I'd love to drive one.
I mean, it's you know what? Fuck it, do it.
Yeah.
Have fun. Ben says, I'm looking at a used M3 F80 and an ATS-V manual for a new daily or back road driver. I want.
He already has a diesel tow rig, so I just need something fun.
I mean, look, the M3 is the gold standard here. I'm sorry that I'm going to go anti-America. The ATS-V has a really good chassis and really good steering, and it's light on its feet. But that engine, engine.
The M3 doesn't sound like anything, but that's better than sounding like what the ATS-V sounds like.
The M3 was so lovely.
It's a great car. No, it's a fantastic
so nice.
car.
That ATS-V, that engine is so fucking disappointing.
Yeah, and the interior is a medium. It's a medium.
Q.
Yeah.
Nope. Pass. Nick says, should I get a Buick Regal Tourex or a Mazda CX-5 for daily mountain bike hauler?
I drove a Tourex last year. We should use one for proving grounds.
Yeah.
Like, nice car, nice looking inside out, surprisingly quick. But I think the load height of the CX-5 makes more sense, and the interior in the CX-5 in certain trim levels looks a little more expensive. Mazda has a really good job of making the interior look more expensive than it is, just with like depending on what color you get.
They do have a good interior design. It looks a little more upmarket.
Yeah.
It's almost Audi. It's
Audi. It's like Audi back when Audi was killing it. I feel like now Audi has stripped things away. I feel like Mercedes, in my opinion, is way ahead of Audi.
I don't like when they get rid of the center screen entirely. I don't like when it's all in the gauge cluster.
It just looks really inexpensive.
It's really bare. Yeah, there's our question. Let's see. Whose man is this? Have we ever personally heard of any catastrophic reliability issues with the V8 S5? That would be the Audi 4.2. I had one of those, 2009 to 2011. It was fine. What is it? The timing chain guides, chain tensioners and guides. They're made of plastic and they melt and they're annoying to fix. I think.
Yeah, I think they're hard to get to and they break. So.
They're on the back of the motor, right? Is that it?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Bozy said something to the effect of he would rather go back to Serbia than work on an Audi 4.2. But besides that, catastrophic. I haven't heard any catastrophic issues. But don't.
I would say don't trust the forums for the car that you are looking at, because the people there bought the car and they're enthusiastic about it.
Call the best rated independent mechanic in your town that works on those cars and ask that person.
Yeah,
that's
very good idea.
Even better, bring that person any car you're looking at. Benjamin says, "I'm a truck driver and autonomy scares me." Yeah, Benjamin probably wants his job.
Yeah, you're right to be scared.
I do get it, but like, I think the driver does a lot. The truck driver, the delivery driver, they do a lot. They don't just get the truck from one address to the next.
That's the way that people tend to look at robotics. Is they tend to create more productivity, which in turn somehow creates more jobs. So the Industrial Revolution created a lot more jobs than it killed, right?
Right.
So but then, I don't think...
I'm skeptical about that. that parallel though. Like,
I mean, an
like I saw a
autonomous
video
semi truck still needs like a minder
Yeah.
to do everything that except
Well, you
drive in theory, right?
Well, the auto video that they put out, which is an autonomous company, like basically their idea was that the driver will sit there and monitor the system on the long highway drives when they're just literally sitting there following the road. But then when you need to park or get gas or go to a delivery address or back it up, like you can have a human being do that. And I think that's fine because the fatigue level and the health level for truck drivers is like terrible.
Yeah, but the parking problem's already like, you know, my wife's Volvo parks itself already. So
yeah, but I've seen some semi trucks do some amazing shit in tight spots.
No,
like,
that's true, and you're never going to be at a. That's the thing, that the human has the ability to adapt to nuance. That I think that's the big.
The computer needs to be told every possible scenario before it can make a decision.
Yeah, and I think that's the big kind of computer science problem that they're working on, is like, how do you get, like, when I've talked to the robo race guys quite a lot, and they're saying that basically like the car's ability to drive based on the actual information that's happening right now is getting extremely good, if not better, as like a proper race car driver. What the component that's missing is the anticipation, and you're still talking about fractions of seconds, but like the nuance that the driver is learning lap to lap and learning about the track on a second by second basis based on exactly what's happening in front of them and how to put an input into the car to react to that thing that hasn't happened yet is the big conundrum that the computer scientists haven't figured out. It's that anticipation factor. How do you kind of learn that this particular intersection, like I almost got T-boned by a guy on a lift scooter today pulling out of a parking lot, and I'm not saying that I could have done anything about that if it would have been more of a T-bone situation than it was, but I think if what I should have known is like, oh wait a minute, I'm in Venice, I should be keeping my eyes peeled for people on lift scooters right now. But it's all those sorts of like really bizarre nuances. The other thing that we looked at a lot at Ford with autonomy is like all these visual cues that drivers make to one another, or the visual cues between a pedestrian and a driver, where when you're about to cross the street as a pedestrian, typically, whether you notice it or not, you're going to make eye contact with the person driving just to make sure that you know that they've seen you. Yeah. So like one of the things that's going on with autonomy is like, how does the car communicate with a pedestrian? How does the car say, hey, I'm about to go now, or I see you, that kind of thing. These are all there's so many complicated issues to work out with this, but I do believe that they will get worked out, and faster than people think.
I think they will get worked out too, but slower than people would like to sell you.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Anyway, that was a good conversation. I will take that. Alan Macey, the Manual Gearbox Preservation Society. Buy a t-shirt. Where can they buy a t-shirt?
Thecurbshop.com.
Thecurbshop.com.
But so Curb is kind of this business I've been working on for a really long time. I'm getting like almost to 20 years, and we've been kind of floating along, but it's going to be evolving quite a bit. Team GPS is going to get kind of spun off as its own thing. I can actually announce today for the first time that we are launching a big collaboration with Mario Andretti on Curb, so that's super exciting. We're going to have some cool stuff. But yeah, thecurbshop.com is where you get Team GPS today, and in the
Zach,
future.
You are broadcasting the comments. Sometimes Zach gets lost.
I do.
And what happens to the best of us. That's awesome, and you gave me this Mario Andretti like gold poster. That I'm
we're super excited.
Cool. Thanks,
about that.
Man. Well, thanks for coming down. Sorry if I kind of like put you on the spot. Like, guess what? We're recording.
Yeah, I came. I did. I came here to just talk to you about Team GPS and get some advice, and here I am on the radio or on the internet.
Sorry you didn't get any advice.
Well, hopefully this isn't the last time I get to talk to you.
This is probably better than advice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. That was a 2-hour and 17-minute show. Pretty fucking strong. I'll take it.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Vipers and stuff. So.
About Vipers and stuff. Well, there's always next time. Thank you, everybody. I don't know what I'm doing next. We got things happening. Let's see. We got I'm going to Cars and Copters this weekend. Just the fucking whitest thing ever.
I saw that.
Huntington
Cool,
Beach.
cool overshot.
Is it gonna be cool
overhead
though?
shot,
Because
I think it's going to be cool.
I might come up to that.
You should go. Shackleford is putting it together, and she does a really good job.
Is it
Amy does a great job.
Saturday or Sunday?
It's Sunday morning on the Huntington Beach, like the big Huntington City Beach parking lot. And I think there's like 10 plus helicopters.
Yeah, the helicopters look pretty cool
Wow.
in the photo you posted.
That's from last year's event. It looks
Damn.
pretty rad. Last year I was like, whatever. And then I saw the pictures like, oh, that looks pretty
Yeah.
sweet,
Wow.
actually.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's always a lot of car shows going on, and I love it. But
Helicopters are a fun addition.
That's a pretty cool thing to check out.
And it's for I'm sorry for not getting this right, but it's for some type of police related charity.
That probably helps with the permitting process.
Can I at least plug them right? Can you, what is it? Cars and Coppers on the Coast, May 5th. It's 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I'm kind of stuck there all day. I hope there's somewhere good to eat. What's the charity?
Huntington, let's see. Huntington Beach Police Department. The community support that the foundation receives allows Huntington Beach Police Department to increase their involvement in programs to give back to the community, such as Shop with a Cop, the LED HP Youth Leadership Program, equine therapy, scholarship programs, and a lot more. So, yeah, the money goes to Huntington Beach Police Department for their outreach programs.
Cool. I'd like to really learn more about what Shop with a Cop is. I'm not really sure about that one. But yeah,
those shoes look terrible on you. Try the red ones.
I'm going to...
Stop resisting.
Stop resisting. That's fucked up. I don't think that's the plug that we're looking for from us.
I can edit it out.
No, it's okay. I'm bringing the little red car because Sunday is Lamborghini exercise day.
Cool.
So, yeah.
I haven't seen that thing yet.
I put 1,700 kilometers on it in my first 4 months.
That's awesome.
It's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. I'm driving it. I'm driving it a little bit. It looks fucking so lovely.
Shop with a Cop happens all over the country, and it looks like the police officers take children in need Christmas shopping.
Oh, okay.
And it also helps establish good relationship with children and law enforcement.
Okay, cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, all right.
good.
That's better than the joke implied.
It always is.
Of course it always is. Anyway. Throw up the link there, Zach, for us as we cruise it out. It's Alan from the Manual Gearbox Preservation Society. Let's do it again next time. You clearly have lots to say once you get over your fear of microphones.
Yeah, I feel a lot more comfortable now that we're
2
at
beers.
the end of the podcast.
The answer is 2 beers.
So next time I'll drink those before I come
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the
You
air.
drive and then we stop and then then there it
Yeah,
is.
I'll just
All
get
right.
here early and drink in the parking lot.
Yeah, you wouldn't be the first. All right, thanks, kids. The Smoking Tire Podcast is powered by Shout Engine. Get your own podcast at shoutengine.com. It's easy. All you need is a microphone, a connection to the internet, and ideally something to say. Good night.